Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 21, Nonsense. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. What, soon? Yi Chen screamed. Naturally, this is what he pretends to be. Although he can't show the full power of real fire, it is more than enough to resist the ice. His pretense is sore, everything is just to paralyze Wei Yong. This is his usual style, playing pigs and eating tigers. Soon, his body began to form ice from the soles of his feet, and it continued to spread upwards. If he continued like this, it would not take long for his body to be completely frozen. Seeing this, Wei Yong sneered. He thought that defeating Yi Chen would take a bit of effort, and never thought it would be so easy for Yi Chen to recruit. He is very confident in his ice and is a weak disciple. Once he wins, it is almost impossible for him to escape. He seems to have seen Yi Chen's scene of being defeated. It seems that I really overestimate you. Wei Yong sneered again, walking slowly, seeing Yi Chen frozen, and too lazy to use the mysterious mystery. Hey, the disciples below sighed helplessly. With all the attention, Wei Yong came to Yi Chen and looked up Yi Chen with a lot of fun. How do you feel? Yi Chen pretended to be struggling, but he did not break free from the ice. Cold ice is indeed well deserved. It has the ability to restrain people. Once the body is frozen, it is difficult to have the ability to move. Naturally, he does not belong to this kind of person. He has a true fire protection, which can directly ignore the cold ice. Moreover, he was confident that even without real fire protection, relying on his majestic vigor, it was enough to break through the shackles of ice. At the moment, he showed weakness, and everything was preparing for the counterattack after Wei Yong relaxed his alertness. It's a waste of time to fight with you. Wei Yong sneered, and raised his palm. However, just when his palm was about to be photographed, the corner of Yi Chen's mouth was flashing a strange sneer. Suddenly, Wei Yong had a bad feeling. It's just that everything is too late. Yi Chen, who was frozen the last time, even moved at this moment, and raised his soul suddenly. Ignore Han Bing's anger. There was an uproar below. The sudden scene also surprised Wei Yong. Because the distance was too close, because Yi Chen suddenly shot, because Wei Yong relaxed his vigilance, so that his lower abdomen was kicked firmly by Yi Chen. With a moan, Wei Yong was stung for a while. Impossible. Wei Yangjin receded, roaring constantly, apparently unable to accept this fact. A disciple with a double mind even ignored his cold ice, which really exceeded his expectations. Nothing is impossible. A cold laugh sounded on his face, and Yi Chen had come like a lion, not giving Wei Yong time to breathe. Wei Yong had just stabilized her body and had not yet given up her body's vitality, so she was kicked back by Yi Chen's kick. Come back for me. Yi Chen quickly walked 2 steps and stretched out his hands. He stepped forward and grabbed Wei Yang's arm, and pulled back Wei Yong Shengsheng, who was back. Wei Yang's body lost her center of gravity and just wanted to reflect, but she found that her feet had left the ground, and her entire body was stunned by Yi Chen's whole circle. Boom! With the loud sound coming, Wei Yong was severely dropped on the stage by Yi Chen, and the whole stage was cracked by his body. Puff! Wei Yong spurted blood, but it's not over yet, sturdy Yi Chen, holding his body up again. Boom! 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 Such sounds continued. Yi Chen held Wei Yang's arm in his hand, used Wei Yong as a leather whip, and fell on the battle platform one after another, so that Wei Yong was dropped by his internal organs. So that he was smashed into a human figure on the battle platform. Below, the buns that the disciples watched have swallowed more than once. This is too sturdy. If I were Wei Yong, I would have been smashed. This battle was too frightening. This man's words spoke out the voice of everyone. Wei Yong, who was at the top of the 7th condensed chi, was in such a frosty way that he would lose so much bullshit. He didn't even have the chance to perform mystery. What? With Wei Yang's last cry, he was slammed on the stage by Yi Chen. At this moment, the bones of his whole body were almost broken, his flesh was fuzzy and he could not move at all. No, it's impossible. Wei Yang's mouth was gushing blood, staring at 2 bloodshot eyes and staring at Yi Chen. He wanted to say that he still had a lot of mysteries unplayed, and many methods were not used, so he fell into disability already. Brother Wei, high above you, have you ever thought that there are such embarrassing moments? Yi Chen squatted down and looked at Wei Yong with a smile. Wei Yong wanted to speak, but was blocked by blood pouring from her mouth. Don't say anything, Yi Chen said, and consciously took away Wei Yong's storage bag. Seeing this, Wei Yong was out of breath and passed out. Don't panic, it's not over. Yi Chen raised his hand up and down, and began to writhe on Wei Yong. Whether it is a jade on his waist, a finger on his hand, or a jade inlaid on a jade belt, as long as it is valuable, he is consciously stuffed into himself. Arms. He is like a robber. He grabs the things when he sees them, and takes the baby. He is very skillful. When he looks at chickens and dogs, he doesn't do much. Also, with this, the disciples below looked at it in a stunned manner. In the spotlight, Yi Chen swept away the valuables on Wei Yong. After decades of hard work, he returned to the pre-liberation. Succeed. After doing this, Yi Chen patted her buttocks, and Lu Yanner disappeared on Feng Yuntai. Long after he left, there was silence. Heng Yizong's 3 main peaks, Yi Chen has lost his first disciple of the 2 main peaks. Out of Feng Yuntai, Yi Chen ran to Wanbao Pavilion with Wei Yong's storage bag and baby running non-stop. This time the showdown was more fruitful than the last time he played against Zhao Long. Congenital with ice and vitality, although Wei Yang's talents are not very good, they are highly regarded by Tianyang Peak. Because of this, his storage bag is very rich. There are more than 1,000 spirit stones alone, and there are more than 30 bottles of jade spirit fluid. Counting other miscellaneous things, it can be said to be a considerable wealth. Yes, Yi Chen patted the storage bag, feeling very good, and 1 foot had already stepped into the door of Wanbao Pavilion. Just after entering, the huge sea sprang up. As if for the first time, his big eyes were bright, and everything was bright and clear. If anyone dared to steal something in his Wanbao Pavilion, he would not escape his law. Baby, you're here again. What do you think? Grandpa, I'll make it cheaper for you. The goods rubbed their hands, smiling a little abnormally, and Yi Chen looked furry. Elder, is there a snow magnolia flower? Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 22, by Spirit Grass. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Yes, I have everything in the Wanbao Pavilion, said Da Hai, not forgetting to raise 2 fingers. 1 of the 50 spirit stones, how much do you want? It's so expensive. You want more, it can be cheaper. Da Hai pinched a handful of beard in his lower jaw, and said without blinking at Yi Chen, of course, at least 50 or more are cheap. Hearing that, Yi Chenshuan put Wei Yong's storage bag on the counter and asked, Elder, how much spirit stone are you looking at? Oh, look at the weight of your storage bag, it's not too light. While talking, the vast sea has opened the storage bag, glanced inside, and then glanced at Yi Chen. I said, did you rob Wei Yong? Quote. After hearing this from the vast sea, Yi Chen could not help but stunned. Elders can see this. That's necessary, said Da Hai, and he took out a piece of jade and a glowing bead from the storage bag. See, he just bought it yesterday. Yi Chen could not help but touch the tip of his nose. The huge sea didn't ask again. He came up with a small abacus, and lowered his head to calculate the value of the contents of the storage bag. Finally, he said, summer pieces are almost worth 900 spirit stones. Do you want to sell them? Sell, Yi Chen said, and handed over the storage bag containing the spirit stones. With these, there are 2,000 spirit stones, and they are all replaced with snow magnolia flowers. Snow magnolia flowers, Yi Hai stunned. What's the use of so many snow magnolia flowers? Drink soup. When I didn't ask, said, the vast sea went in. Soon, he came out with a storage bag and handed it to Yi Chen. I'll send you 50. Elder Xie. Yi Chen received the storage bag, and then moved forward a little, and asked, Elder, do you know where the Hengyuzong Haoshan grows the most snow magnolia? There aren't many directions. Although the snow magnolia flower is not very precious, it is a necessary grass for refining jade spirit fluid. Such a grass is specially planted by the Zongmen in the Lingsao garden. Haoshan those are wild and the numbers are extremely limited. Quote. That's it. Yi Chen touched his chin and muttered quietly, no wonder Haoshan is hard to find. The feeling of this snow magnolia flower is controlled by the ancestral gate. Thinking of Lingsao Garden, Yi Chen dispelled his thoughts directly. That place was not accessible to anyone. Thinking in this way, Yi Chen was about to turn around and leave, but was caught by the huge sea. Elder, what's up? I saw the huge sea rubbing the fat palms and squinting at Yi Chen. Little guy, do you still have bloodthirsty pills? Bloodthirsty pill. Yi Chen stumbled a little, then shook his head slightly. The bottle of bloodthirsty pills was also accidental to me. It's gone. I heard that the huge sea is a bit regrettable. His expression aroused Yi Chen's curiosity. Elder, what's the origin of that bloodthirsty pill? What do you want it to do? The origin of the bloodthirsty pill is big. Speaking of bloodthirsty pill, the huge sea came with interest. That is only talented people in the bloodthirsty palace. Here the bloodthirsty palace. That behemoth in the north of Dachu. Quote. The bloodthirsty temple. Yi Chen frowned slightly, and murmured, the old man with a humpback is the one from the bloodthirsty temple. Hemophilic pills are extremely toxic, but in a sense, they are also a great tonic. Hey, it's a pity that there is only one bottle. The huge sea rumblings made Yi Chen somewhat inexplicable. At last, he glanced at the huge sea, and Yi Chen walked out of Wanbao Pavilion in a deep grin. If he knew the value of the bloodthirsty pill before secretly, he would not easily give the huge sea. Out of Wanbao Pavilion, Yi Chen took a few steps, plunged into Heng Yizong's back mountain, and frantically collected the spiritual grass needed for refining jade spiritual fluid. And at this moment, Tianyang Peak. When Zhang Laodao saw the disabled Wei Yong being lifted up to Tianyang Peak, he almost fell off his chair. Yi Chen Shaowa, startled hard. Master, Yi Chen deceived me of Tianyang Peak too much. I will meet him in another day. I won't believe it. A heavy breath will make it impossible. Let the disciples of Di Yangfeng Zhe Hong try the water first. Yi Chen's kid is weird. As night fell, a hidden cave in Heng Yuzong's hidden mountain still shone with gold. By the fire, Yi Chen was sweating. Since collecting the grass, he has been continuously refining the jade spiritual solution, and now he has successfully refined more than 30 bottles of jade spiritual solution. Although there are failures during this period, the success rate is still rising. Yi Chen stayed for 3 days. The night after 3 days, he recovered the real fire, and there were already more than 20 bottles of jade spirit liquid beside him, removing the failed products. This was the result of his 3 days. Call. With a spit of stale air, Yi Chen poured a bottle of Yuling liquid into his mouth. The elixir is like the elixir, like a clear spring flowing over the body, nourishing his body and supplementing his consumption. Soon, a bottle of Yuling liquid was poured into his mouth, so that more than 20 bottles of Yuling liquid were poured into his stomach. If anyone is here, they will be frightened. The Yuling liquid contains the majestic spirit power. Drinking the whole bottle will threaten to explode the Dantian. Even the 7th-rate disciple dare not drink a whole bottle in one breath. He pours well and drinks 20 bottles in one breath. This is where Danhai's hegemony lies. Its huge capacity is enough to hold the majestic spiritual power contained in more than 20 bottles of jade liquid, and it also has real fire refining, and the conditions are simply unique. More than 24 bottles of Yuling liquid entered the body and were strongly refined by the real fire, making Yi Chen full of steam. Every meridian and every pore was filled with pure innocence. Kanjin Wei. I don't know when it sounded like this in the midst. Advanced. A few days later, Yi Chen broke through again. Ningqi is the 3rd most important thing. Today, I have the capital and people's realm to compete against each other. Holding his fist, feeling the powerful power on his fist, Yi Chen could not help but smile. The night sky is deep, and broken stars are like dust. For 3 days after refining the jade liquid, Yi Chen walked out of the cave for the first time. As soon as he walked out of the cave, Yi Chen saw a white light flying in the distance. The speed was extremely fast. After passing the midnight, he disappeared in a blink of an eye. What? At last glanced at the direction of the white light, Yi Chen murmured softly, then turned. Rustle, rustle. Soon, a rustling sound came from the lush jungle, a blast of wind came, and there was a sweet fragrance of women. Then, a shadow came. She is beautiful and refined, bathed in the moonlight, and immaculate, like a fairy of blue waves, and does not stain the world. Take a closer look, isn't this Chu Linger? More precisely, Chu Linger's sister, Chu's honor. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 23, Chu's Honor. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. How is she? Seeing Chu's honor, who looks exactly like Chu Linger, Yi Chen stepped out of the foot, and then stole it back. She is also from Heng Yizong. With his thoughts flying, Yi Chen had already turned sharply, and ran away with his legs. Perhaps he was in a hurry, and was tripped by a tree vine under his feet. A dog fell down on the ground, regardless of his wolf, and he got up then. Even those who roll and crawl will run towards the depths. Seeing this, Chu Shuner frowns slightly, and Yusho pokes out immediately. Soon, Yi Chen, who had just ran out a few feet, was carried back by Chu Shuner like a chick. Yi Chen just wanted to move, but he was confined by Chu Shuner's powerful momentum. Before, Senior, early, Yi Chen smiled, his heart was half cold, and I didn't know how many times he had scolded him. It was really a narrow path for the enemy, and he would meet the evil star here. At this moment, Yi Chen was already mourning for herself, her small heart was pounding, and the empty realm was too strong. She definitely had the power to kill him. Maybe she would be different in the next moment. Suddenly, Yi Chen sweated down his forehead. However, in the imagination, Chu Shuner was not furious, nor did he show any killing, but the powerful momentum pressed Yi Chen. A pair of beautiful eyes like water waves, looking at Yi Chen slightly. The most important point is that he did not recognize him. Yi Chen. Are you a disciple of Heng Yizong? Chu Shuner stared at Yi Chen. As soon as this word came out, Yi Chen froze on the spot. She doesn't remember me. Yi Chen's heart was full of wrongdoings, which is only a few days past. You have a bad memory too. Thinking of the nonsense Chunxiao beauty that night, Yi Chen could not help rubbing his eyebrows. Who would have thought that he would be with a beauty senior in the empty realm, apparently to save people, but almost lost his life? What about you? Are you a disciple of Heng Yizong? Seeing Yi Chen not answering, Chu Ling asked again. Yes. Although guilty in the heart, Yi Chen scrambled to reveal his identity card. Chu Shuner glanced at the identification card, and stared at Yi Chen again. What do the ghostly ghosts do in this late night? I pick the spirit grass. Then what do you see me running? Perhaps it was because Yi Chen's expression was a little flustered. Chu Shuner stared at Yi Chen again, and gave Yi Chen a great sense of oppression, as if Yi Chen's words and deeds were in her. Under the watchful eyes of Yi Chen, if she lied, she could not escape her eyes. Am I so scary? I'm afraid you'll grab me. Yi Chen casually drew a reason, and the only word he said was a three-pointer. That innocuous face of humans and animals, anyone who saw it had to think that he was a good boy. Grab your stuff. Chu Shuner was amused. Where is this? Although it is the Heng Yuzong's back mountain, it is also covered by the Heng Yuzong enclave. Can there be people from other schools besides the Heng Yuzong? Will the elders of the magnificent Heng Yuzong rob a disciple? Chu Shuner thought that she had scared the little boy by her actions just now, and it scared the children. After looking at Yi Chen, Chu Shuner didn't ask any more. Instead, Mei Zan looked around the lush forests of the four sides, and sometimes he narrowed his eyes to the void, and asked, "Did you see anything flying?" Yes, there was a white light flying over. Yi Chen thought of the white light that had just crossed the sky just now. Which direction did you go? Northeast. Yi Chen hurriedly pointed in the northeast direction, thinking at this moment that the woman in front of her hurriedly left here, in case she remembered. God knew what nonsense would happen. Upon hearing this, Chu Shuner hurriedly took out a glowing note, and whispered to the note, "Brother, you are going in that direction. Stay southwest, don't approach here." The voice of the note sounded vigorously. Understand. Chu Shuner waved his hand to receive the note, sat down with his knees crossed, and then printed with his hands. A ray of light rose from the sky, forming a huge array in the void. Boom! Soon, a terrifying roar came from the northeast, and the earth shuddered. Roar. Then there was a roar of trembling. This roar is very strange, not only deafening, but also with a strong magic power, so far away. Yi Chen's mind was a little stunned, he stunned in place, and almost fell. Seeing this, Chu Xuaner Jade flicked her hand and hit a light into Yi Chen's heart. Yi Chen's mind was now clear, and he looked at the northeast in horror. A roar almost made him lose his heart. From his vision, he could see the extraordinary white light. Extreme doubts made Yi Chen seem to have forgotten what happened to Chu Xuaner beside her. What the asterisk is it? Yi Chen murmured, looking at that direction, knowing that Chu Xuaner must also have followed that white light, and it was a coincidence that they met here. Aside, Chu Xuaner saw Yi Chen's cyanosis, and he said in a deep voice, "Stop cyanosis, and leave here quickly." After hearing that, Yi Chen just came over. If he was pardoned, his tight body seemed to be in a conditional response, and no matter what the white light was, he plunged into the lush jungle without turning his head and crawling. "Do I look so scary?" A glance at Yi Chen, who fled, Chu Xuaner looked as if she had to take control of the legal array, otherwise she really wanted to catch Yi Chen back in question again. In the distance, Yi Chen has disappeared. After Yi Chen left, a super rainbow came to the midnight and landed next to Chu's honor, turning into a beautiful white woman. Take a closer look, and look exactly like Chu's honor, needless to say Chu Linger. After Chu Linger fell, she first gave a light heart. Looking at the direction of Yi Chen's escape, she could not help but lightly whispered. The bright and dark eyes flashed in her beautiful eyes, scratched her head, and muttered to herself, a familiar atmosphere. "Linger, aren't you retreating? How come out?" Chu Xuaner looked at Chu Linger with anxiety. Withdrawing his eyes from there, Chu Linger spread his hands and shrugged. It's impossible to think of such a big movement. Indeed, this riot was much bigger than usual. Chu Xuaner looked dignified. Can this enchantment trap it? Chu Linger looked up at the law array in the void, then his eyes fell on Chu Xuaner. "Teacher Zhang, they are under siege." As for Chu Linger's question, Chu's honor whispered back, looking a little unsightly, "These days are really getting more and more riotous. I don't know if I can seal it in the future." Quote, "I'm here to help." Seeing Chu Xuaner's dignified look, Chu Linger hurriedly sat on the ground cross-legged, offering aura. "Oh yes, we just met a weird little guy. Strange little guy, how strange." Chu Linger blinked and looked at Chu's honor. Although she had practiced for nearly a century, she was still as innocent as a worldly girl and curious about everything. "Anyway, it's weird." Chu Xuaner scratched his head, not knowing how to describe it. When I didn't ask. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 24, Calculate. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. From the back mountain, Yi Chen ran back to Heng Yizong in one breath. At this moment, the sky was already bright. The disciples of Heng Yizong started to run out to absorb the essence of the world. When they saw Yi Chen, who was so embarrassed, his eyes were somewhat puzzled. Good danger, good danger. Without paying attention to the strange eyes around him, Yi Chen slowed down, panting heavily, and glanced at the back of the mountain, still a little afraid in his heart, as if he had walked away at the gate of the ghost. It took a long time for him to calm down. She doesn't remember me. Aren't you alone? No, there are people who look like this in the world. Yi Chen was muttering all the way. If that woman was also Heng Yizong that night, then he would have to leave here. If it really only looks like imagination, then there is no need to worry so much. I didn't go in, I just stood outside the Lingshan gate. I was thinking. A familiar voice not far away interrupted Yi Chen's thoughts, and then there was a loud curse. Little bunny, still lying. Not honestly staying down the mountain, running up to steal things. Neither look at you, tiger baby. Yi Chen saw the familiar figure across the distance. Wasn't it the tiger baby in Shaolingyuan? At this moment, a group of disciples of Heng Yizong have surrounded him, or scolded, or sneered, or cursed, making the baby's weak body dare not curl up, her nose and face swollen, and she did not dare to look up, as if it was a crime. Convicted of a major crime. I didn't come up, I just stood by the door and watched. Tiger baby seemed to be very aggrieved and she bowed her head and sobbed. Dare to quibble and fight. A disciple fiercely slaps his hands. However, before he fell, his arm was held by one hand. Do you want to die? The cold voice sounded suddenly. Yi Chen was the natural shot. He regarded the tiger baby as a loved one. Naturally, he could not be bullied. When the disciples saw that it was Yi Chen, they stepped back subconsciously. Although he is just an intern disciple, Yi Chen is a different kind. Zhao Long at Diong Peak and Wei Yong at Tianyang Peak are ****** examples. Don't absorb the essence of the sun and the moon, but bully a child who can't cultivate. You can do it. Yi Chen glanced coldly, sneer, there is a kind, fight with me. After hearing that, a group of disciples hurriedly gathered together. It was he who violated the ancestral rules first. Shu Shi was crowded and sneered for the first white student named Shu Ming. That is, it's not the disciples of Hengyu Zong, you must not go to Hengyu Zongling Mountain. This is a historical rule. This little rabbit named Hua ran up, and God knew if he had come up to steal things. Yi Chen frowned, but he had heard Heng Yizong have such rules. Moreover, although Hua lives at the foot of Heng Yizong Mountain, he is not the same as Zhang Fengnian. Although Zhang Fengnian was demoted down the mountain, he is still a person of Heng Yizong, and he was adopted by Zhang Fengnian, which does not belong to Heng in a certain sense. People of Yu Zong. I didn't. Tiger baby's face was full of tears. I just stood outside the gate. I didn't come in. They dragged me in. Hearing, Yi Chen's cold eyes glanced at the disciples. Little bunny, you dare to lie. Disciple Shu Mingyi, headed by him, scolded again, believe it or not I interrupt your leg. Just hearing the buzz, Yi Chen suddenly pulled out the Tianjian épée. You try it. Yi Chen looked at Shu Ming coldly. Why, in broad daylight, you still want to bully and bully? Shu Ming shouted and shouted. His name drew more onlookers. With more people, Shu Ming was even more reckless. Come and see, Yi Chen is going to bully people with their strength. Bullying someone, Yi Chen sneered, striding out, and immediately smashed the Tianjian épée and smashed it in the past. Then I will bully you today. Seeing this, Shu Ming hurriedly pulled out the sword and ran across it. Click, the shattering voice sounded immediately, and Shu Ming's spirit sword was broken on the spot, and even he was shocked to vomit blood and backed away. Murder, murder, Shu Ming shouted in the crowd, as if to deliberately make the situation bigger. Murder, Yi Chen is going to murder. Since you have said so, then I will destroy you today. Lengung murmured. Yi Chen struck forward with a sting. Seeing this, the disciples scolded all around. Bright daylight, dare to commit murder. It's no wonder Sister Su said that you are serious about killing, really. Is there anything you can't say well? Do you have to use force? Get off. Yi Chen screamed loudly, and immediately twitched the heavens. The scene suddenly fell into chaos. Some disciples in white and their secret accomplices added jealousy, so that more than one disciple came up, either accusing, scolding, or yelling. Send him to the commandment hall. When the first disciple was angry, others shot in succession. As soon as the melee broke out, blood soon appeared. Yi Chen's face was frosty, but every disciple who rushed up was flying by his sword fan. Vaguely, he also saw Shu Ming hiding behind the crowd showing a treacherous grin. Looking at the scene in front of him, he had already expected it, and all this seemed to have been planned for a long time. The disciples gathered to fight and shocked the commandment hall. Soon, there was a strong intervention from the commandment hall. The comer was a disciple in purple clothes, with a pale face and a folding fan. He was the first disciple of the commandment hall, Yin Jiping. Doesn't you know that door rules are prohibited? Yin Jiping shook the folding fan, glanced at the injured disciple, and glanced at Yi Chen again. Brother Yin, you have to decide for us. It was Shu Ming again, covering his chest and crying. Although he was mediocre, his skill in acting was first-rate. Brother Yin, this Yi Chen ignores the door rules, you can't tolerate it. Relying on the strength, wantonly bullying fellow disciples. It's hateful to be broad. The scene was really exciting. Some people gritted their teeth, and could not wait to pull Yi Chen out on the spot, and Ling Kai was executed. Listening to the scolding around, Yin Jiping looked at Yi Chen and smiled sadly. Yi Chen, go to Zhelutang with me. I dare to do it, I dare to be. Yi Chen looked indifferent, and after receiving the heavens, he would raise his feet, but was blocked by the tiger baby behind him. It's all my fault, punish me if you want to be punished." Tiger Baby panicked. As he said, he knelt down on the ground, begging for mercy for Yi Chen, and holding his head, so that his forehead was overflowing with blood. He just wanted to block all the blame for Yi Chen with his weak body. In this scene, Yi Chen saw his heart tremble. The young man is not sensible, forgive him once. The voice of the old voice sounded. Zhang Fengnian hurried with a cane. The old body was very embarrassed, and he bent over to atone for sin. Hearing that, Yin Jiping shook the folding fan lightly, looked up and down Zhang Fengnian, and smiled. "Zhang Fengnian, you have been degraded down the mountain. You should understand the rules here, don't find yourself uncomfortable. Ni Yin, look at the past." Zhang Fengnian wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Yi Chen. Yi Chensheng pulled the Tiger Baby kneeling on the ground, and then pulled behind him. Looking at the old Zhang Fengnian, his heart was full of warm current, and laughed. "Grandpa, take the Tiger Baby back. I'm fine." Quote. Speaking, Yi Chen strode toward the commandment hall. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 25, Flogging Punishment. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. The icy majestic hall was full of people, each pointing at the central government, and even cursing with anger. In the center, Yi Chen stands like a steel. He looked indifferent and didn't say a word, but he had already figured out many things. What happened today was not accidental, but a deliberate conspiracy in order to frame him. Indifferently bowed his head, Yi Chen saw the smiling Xu Ming among the crowd. Crossing Xu Ming's face, Yi Chen saw the waist tag hanging on Xu Ming's waist. Although the word Yandi on the waist tag was not big, it fell into his eyes, but it was extra dazzling. He had guessed this as Di Yangfang's conspiracy specifically for him. But he still said nothing, but just looked at Yin Jiping not far away. Master respects his elderly retreat. Today, I have the full power to handle it. Yin Jiping shook his folding fan leisurely, with a sense of justice and selflessness, but when he looked at Yi Chen, his mouth was showing drama and fun. "You want to hurt fellow disciples, Yi Chen, do you admit it? There is nothing wrong with adding sin." With a sneer, Yi Chen didn't explain too much, knowing that this was a conspiracy, and talking too much was nonsense. "So you confessed. Since you have pleaded guilty, it is easy to handle. In accordance with Article 9 of the rules, you wantonly hurt the disciples, and you should use fire whips to implement them immediately." Fire whip. Upon hearing this word, the disciples in the temple swallowed a spit, seemingly scary to know the punishment. This time Yi Chen has suffered. You said he could take a few whip. Along with the rumblings of conversations around him, even if a disciple on both sides approached and locked Yi Chen on a shelf with a chain, his coat was picked up on the spot. Soon, a flaming leather whip was presented. "Brother Yi, you can call it if it hurts." Yin Jiping took the fire whip, his eyes were full of mischief. "No need to bullshit, come on." As soon as this remark was made, Yin Jiping sneered, and the fire whip in his hand was immediately raised, and he was severely thrown on Yi Chen. Snapped. The sound of the fire whip flinging at Yi Chen was exceptionally clear. The hot pain pierced his heart. Yi Chen seemed to underestimate the punishment for this lash. The fire whip in Yin Jiping's hands was obviously not simple. A whip blasted the skin of his body. But Rao is so, Yi Chen still gritted his teeth and never said anything. "Very good, stiff enough." Seeing Yi Chen not scream in pain, Yin Jiping sneered, and began to be fierce. The fire whip was thrown on Yi Chen's body continuously. Snapped, snapped, snapped. As the sound continued to sound, the blood on Yi Chen's body also became more and more. "Deserve it, this is the end to my Di Yangfang." In the crowd, Xu Ming showed a grinning smile. Recklessly hurting the disciples should be punished. He asked for it, and couldn't blame others. Yin Jiping seemed to have benefited from Di Yangfang. He never left his hand. The fire whip was like a snake in his hand, and the whip made Yi Chen's blood fly. Soon, Yi Chen was covered with blood puppets, and the overflowing blood ran down the body, which was shocking. However, from beginning to end, he never screamed in pain. "I see when you can put up with it." Seeing Yi Chen never scream in pain from beginning to end, giving Yin Jiping a sense of frustration, making him wave the fire wand even more madly, and he wanted to hear Yi Chen's pain before quitting. Snapped, snapped, snapped. Yin Jiping is getting more and more crazy, more and more frightened. As the first disciple of the Commandment Hall, he couldn't understand the horror of torture with fire whip. No matter how condensed atmosphere, it was difficult to carry 100 whip even in the realm of human beings, and Yi Chen in front of him did not hurt. He shook 100 whip, which made him not shocked. This is the first whip. Someone whispered around, and there were disciple-hearted disciples here too, and he couldn't help showing Yi Chen's expression when he saw Yi Chen being so whipped. The 108th whip is off. He didn't die with 108 whip. Isn't his body made of meat? No scream came, snapped. When the last loud whip falls, the fire whip punishment can be regarded as an end. Let it go. Rouse Yin Jiping. His breath has become uneven, and his breath is wheezing and sweaty. Yi Chen, who was locked, was immediately released from shackles. Suddenly, he was stunned for a while, and after shaking a few times, he did not fall to the ground after all. Can I go? Yi Chen raised his face and looked at Yin Jiping with a sneer. Random. Yin Jiping took a deep breath, but still waved his hand. Yi Chen looked around, and indifferently, there was obviously a cold mang flashing, and he turned round. He walked out of the temple. Behind him was a series of blood-colored footprints. As soon as he left the hall, Zhang Fengnian hurriedly greeted him. Child. Zhang Feng's old hand was trembling and wanted to help Yi Chen, but he didn't know where to start, because Yi Chen was covered with blood on his body. He was afraid that Yi Chen would be hurt by any move. Grandpa, I'm thick and thick, I can't die. Yi Chen smiled arrogantly. Although he said so on his mouth, his eyes began to get blurred, and he shook a few times, but eventually fell down. Zhang Fengnian stepped forward, dragged him, and carried him on his uncle's back. Child, let's go home. Grandpa, you are right, everything needs patience, but the weak people deserve to be bullied. Then I would rather go a more difficult road. The blessings they blessed us. The other day, Yi Chen Bi let them pay it back 100 times. Quote. Unconsciously, Yi Chen passed out. In the dimness, Yi Chen felt Zhang Fengnian's bumpy back, felt Zhang Fengnian took a lot of effort to bring him back to the Shaolin Yuan, and even more clearly felt that Zhang Fengnian was wiping the scar for him. He woke up again. It was night. The hot pain still didn't dissipate. The fire whip was very strange. Forgiving him with the real temperature, it was still difficult to stop the burning pain. All are waiting for Lao Su. Yi Chen said coldly. The ninja was in pain, and Yi Chen sat cross-legged on the bed. Soon, a rattling sound from the bone collision was heard in his body, and the method of the wild refining body worked again. Suddenly, pain appeared on his face. However, as time went on and the number of refining sessions increased, he has gradually adapted to this pain, but for the sake of it, the pain of the fire whip is incomparable to the pain of refining sessions. For 3 hours, Yi Chen worked hard all day. What surprised him was that this wild refining body even had the magical effect of speeding up the healing of wounds. The rotten flesh was abandoned, and through the refining body, new flesh was born. Surprise. Yi Chen secretly said in his heart, never thought that the wild refining body and such mysteries. It turned out that beatings were another practice. Immediately, he used it with all his heart, while refining his body, and widening his pores. The whale swallowed the aura of heaven and earth, a trace of aura between heaven and earth, and sometimes entered his body with his wound. In this way, he has been running wild for a week. The effect becomes more obvious, and the wounds on the body have healed a lot. Very good. Yi Chen leapt a smile from the corner of his mouth without stopping, and continued to train his body. It wasn't until late at night that he accepted the refining method. At this moment, his skin became smooth and shiny, and even if he could not find any scars, this kind of recovery force, if anyone knew it, would surely startle the big teeth. It's pretty wild and overbearing. With a big laugh, Yi Chen jumped off the bamboo bed and ran out of the room. When he came to the garden, he punched him hard, then turned around and took a leg. After refining, he took Yu Lingye again. He was full of elves, and the beast-hearted wrath-killing skill was very close, loosening his rigid bones. Roar, roar. Inexplicably, his move has a strange change. More accurately, each move is accompanied by the roar of the beast. There is a roar of a tiger, a hiss of an eagle, a roar of a wolf, and a tiger of an ape. Shao. Yi Chen was completely immersed in the mood of understanding the mysteries of the beast's anger, and each mystery was gradually understood by him, and his moves were sublimated in a strange state of sublimation. Very good. It felt strange and mysterious. Yi Chen couldn't help laughing, even with the seemingly beastly roar. Unconsciously, the sky was already bright, and Yi Chen was still exerting his fists very close, and maybe he was too fascinated. Yi Chen had never noticed Zhang Fengnian, who just came out of the door. Young man. Seeing Yi Chen, Zhang Fengnian froze on the spot. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 26, Knock Sap. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Grandpa, you're awake. After closing his fists, Yi Chen turned around, only to see Zhang Fengnian's look in shock. Zhang Fengnian opened his mouth and couldn't speak. He used to be the elder of Heng Yizong. He knew the fire whip was so powerful. Even if he had elixir treatment, it would take at least half a month. Yesterday, it was Yi Chen who was covered with blood, and it was only a night later. Yi Chen's wounds not only disappeared, but also lively. At this moment, anyone who reads it will be shocked. Seeing Zhang Fengnian so shocked, Yi Chen smiled slightly. Grandpa, save me again. Your injury. It's all right. I'll say I'm rough and thick. It's okay. Zhang Fengnian was obviously very excited. He also regarded Yi Chen as a loved one. At this moment, when he saw that Yi Chen was okay, the stone in his heart was also put down. Come here, put this away. After the excitement, I saw Zhang Fengnian's old palm had been stretched into his arms, and then tremblingly felt a big palm sack and stuffed it into Yi Chen. Yi Chen was inexplicable, but he still took the bag. When he opened the bag, he found that there was only one magic rune in the bag, and there was a dense rune on it, and two bright characters, Tianling. Tianling mantra. Yi Chen looked at Zhang Fengnian suddenly. Zhang Fengnian nodded with a smile. He knew that Yi Chen had provoked too many people in recent days. He passed on the celestial mantra and hoped that this charm would help him out of the crisis at a critical moment. Senior, this gift is too precious, and juniors can't accept it. Yi Chen obviously knew the value of the celestial mantra and had to pass it back again, but was pushed back by Zhang Fengnian. Tianling mantra needs to be energized. I want it to be useless. Zhang Fengnian sighed. Yi Chen silently. A warm current could not help flowing through her heart. The celestial mantra is one of the three major charms of Heng Yizong. For a period of time, the monk's ability to imprison his vigor was so precious. Zhang Fengnian kept him for so long, but he didn't give it up after a lot of humiliation. Thank you for your gift. Young man, just do your best. Zhang Fengnian patted Yi Chen's shoulder and walked away with a smile. After Zhang Fengnian left, Yi Chen pulled out the Tianling curse. The celestial mantra is a yellow rune. The yellow rune is paper. These are secondary. The main is the rune depicted on the yellow rune. It is really cumbersome and abnormal, showing a strange power. It's a good thing to seal people's true spirit for a short time. Yi Chen put the Tianling curse into the bag again. Is this thing precious? After a brief breakfast, Yi Chen changed into a clean shirt and carried a huge and heavy nature weight on her body. Young man, you. Zhang Fengnian stopped talking, knowing that Yi Chen was going up the hill to find someone to settle accounts, and his old eyes were full of worry. Brother, you, don't go up. Even Hu Hua saw it, lowered her head, twisted her clothes with two small hands, knowing that Yi Chen would go forward this time, and she would probably be seriously injured or even unable to return. Come. Rest assured, I'm fine. Yi Chen smiled arrogantly. Out of the little spirit garden, Yi Chen put on a black robe and covered his whole body under the black robe, making people invisible. Climbing up Hengyu Zongling Mountain in one breath, Yi Chen went straight to Haoshan. Finding a secret place, Yi Chen shoved the Tianye Pei into a storage bag, and then plucked some mud from the ground and applied it to his face. He even messed up his hair and even ripped his shirt. Tattered. At this moment, when he saw this, he would think that he was a beggar, and it was difficult to recognize that this was Yi Chen. After doing this, Yi Chen hid among the lush weeds, converging his breath, because the jungle was hidden, and because of his condensed breath, many disciples who came to the mountain to pick the spirit grass did not find it here. Dodging alone. You play yin, I will play with you. Among the grass, Yi Chen sneered. Speaking, Yi Chen did not forget to scoop a black stick out of the storage bag. Well, the purpose of everything he did here is very obvious. This is the stance of guarding the rabbits and waiting for the rabbits to stay here, wait for the disciples of Di Yangfeng to appear, and then kill the sap. Soon, his first goal appeared. That was a disciple of Diongfeng in a white robe. The man was about 5 strong, but he was aggressive. You and you, go somewhere else. This piece of spirit grass belongs to Yandi Peak. As soon as this man came, he scolded at the disciples who were weak. Look, death. Get out of here. The disciples of the Heng Yizong are not all disciples of the 3 main peaks, and there are some disciples who have been discarded as weak. Most people dare to anger because of Di Yangfeng. Soon, the disciples in this area were expelled, and the disciples in white in Diongfeng took the place for granted. At this moment, Yi Chen rushed out and killed 3 or 2 steps behind the disciple in white. The disciple frowned when he felt the cold wind from the younger generation. The body could make him suddenly turn around, but before he turned around completely, a black iron rod had already struck the sky and hit him firmly on the back of his head. On the spot, the disciple in white was smashed into the past, and the whole big character lay on the ground. He did not see who attacked himself. The first one. Yi Chen waved his hand and took away the storage bag of the disciple in white, and then moved his hand up and down. All the valuables on the disciple in white were consciously taken away by him. After the ransacking was completed, Yi Chen kicked the disciple in white into the lush weeds, and then left here and started looking for the next target. Soon after, a scream of pig killing came from the corner of Heng Yuzong's Haoshan. Another disciple of Di Yangfeng fell to the ground. When someone heard the sound, the corner of his mouth could not help but twitched, because only one pair of pants was left when the disciple of Di Yangfeng was covered. Who is this? How terrible! There aren't any robbed hairs. They're crisp. Deserve it, and let Di Yangfeng bully people. Not long after, deep screams came from behind Haoshan, causing more disciples to watch. On this day, Heng Yuzong's Haoshan was very unsettled, and screams kept coming and going. When the disciples who collected the spirit grass arrived, a similar scene would appear in front of them, and the valuables of the stunned people were searched away. Moreover, those who were knocked out were all disciples of Di Yangfeng. When the night fell, the disciples who gathered the spirit grass walked out of Haoshan. What was in the mouth was all the strange things happening in Haoshan today. It's all Di Yangfeng's disciples. What's the matter? Willn't it be the other 2 peaks? Then who knows? But it definitely won't be Yi Chen. He was beaten yesterday. Can he stand up and talk about it? Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 27, Hit the West. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. At night, a dozen disciples of Diongfeng were carried to Diongfeng. Who did it? Zhe Hong saw it, his face suddenly gloomy. This was red. Where was he hitting Diongfeng's face naked? No, I don't know. When we went, all the brothers had already been attacked. There was a slap below, and the atmosphere did not dare to say a word. Master, dare to attack my Diongfeng disciple like this so boldly, maybe there is only that Yi Chen. Some disciple Wei Wenyunuo said aloud. Has my head been kicked by the donkey? Looking at the talking disciple, Zhe Hong couldn't help but yelled, he has been hit by more than 100 fire whip. It is fortunate that he did not die. Is it possible to stand up? What master taught was that I did not see Yi Chen today. Then, will it be Tianyangfeng and Diongfeng? Hearing that, Zhe Hong took a deep breath. His face was intimidating and scary, with sharp eyes shining in his sinister eyes. Check me, no matter who it is, I will make him pay a painful price. And at this moment, Yi Chen, who was the mastermind of the Haoshan incident, had slipped back to the little spirit garden at this moment, and took off his black robe very easily. He is meticulous in his actions and can be said to be flawless. First, when he went up the mountain in a black robe, no one knew that he was Yi Chen, which meant that no one had seen him, and that no one had seen him meant that he had not gone up the mountain, and that he had no evidence of being there. Second, when Haoshan knocked on a sap, he also prepared with 2 hands, painted his face with mud, and changed his makeup. Even if he was found, it was difficult to recognize him. The third and most important point is that he was hit by more than 100 fire whip yesterday. Anyone who is not stupid will think that if he is hit by more than 100 fire whip, he will be disabled even if he does not die. It is absolutely impossible to carry out a sneak attack in Haoshan. Everything that was done before and after was in Yi Chen's calculations. It turns out that his approach is still very effective, at least until then, no one doubts him. Cool, cannot help but laugh. Yi Chen put a dozen storage bags on the bed. These are the loot of today. I have to say that Di Yangfeng's disciples are indeed rich. There are all kinds of spiritual stones, spiritual fluid, spiritual grass, and mystery in the storage bag. There is also a storage bag with as many as 2,000 spiritual stones. Enough to help me break through to the 4th. After a cheerful smile, Yi Chen swallowed nearly 60 bottles of jade spirit fluid. So many jade spirits flowed into the body, like a Wangquan, flowing through the meridians of his size, and the real fire of Danhai was also gushing at this time, helping Yi Chen to refine the jade spirit's implied majestic power. As the refined Yuling liquid poured into Danhai, Yi Chen's breath quickly increased. At this moment, his pores were wide open, and the whale swallowed the aura of heaven and earth. The comber did not refuse. He had the overbearing real fire for him to refine the jade liquid and the external aura, and strongly pushed his cultivation into the realm of the 3rd and 4th layers of the barrier. I do not know when Yi Chen heard such a sound. Advanced. Yi Chen's Shouwei broke through to the 4th point of Ningqi at this moment. He no longer absorbs the spiritual power contained in the spirit stone, because the realm has just broken through. It takes time to consolidate, and it is not a good thing to advance too fast. At this moment, it was a little dark outside. Yi Chen rolled over and jumped out of bed, covered with a black robe again, and slipped out of the Shaolingyuan. However, this time he was not the Lingshan of Shanghengyuzong, but walked down the mountain, and ran for a full quarter of an hour before stopping. This is a valley, not very long, only a few hundred feet, but it is the only way to the monster forest. Well, Yi Chen's purpose here is obvious. He didn't go to the Hengyuzong Haoshan today to knock the sap, but instead transferred the battlefield, waiting in this valley to wait for the monster forest to kill the monster disciple Yongfeng. In the art of war, there is a measure to describe his approach at this time, that is, to attack the west. After the Hengyuzong Haoshan incident yesterday, he determined that Zhe Hongwei secretly sent a repairer to be a weak disciple hidden in Haoshan in order to catch the assailant who attacked his disciples. Yi Chen was very thoughtful. Since he knew that Haoshan had an ambush, naturally he wouldn't be fooled into throwing himself into the net. So he chose to shift the battlefield. On weekdays, Hengyuzong ran to the monster forest to kill many disciples. Among them, there are many disciples of Yangfeng who are ambushed in this valley, which is definitely a good choice. Here it is. Yi Chen chose a secret place, but instead of putting mud on his face, he put on a ghost head mask. Before long, it was bright, and Yi Chen sat up, watching the movement in the valley closely. Soon, there was a disciple of Hengyu, but he was not a disciple of Zheng Yangfeng. Yi Chen didn't take the shot and let it go. Time passed slowly, and waves of disciples in the valley passed, either in groups of 3 or in groups of 5, all of whom ran to the monster forest to kill the monster. After all, Yi Chen waited for the goal. Looking out, it was a trio, all of Di Yangfeng's disciples. Shu Ming. Far away, Yi Chen saw a familiar figure among the 3. Wasn't it Shu Ming who calculated him that day? Yi Chen knew that although it was Zhe Hong of Di Yangfeng who really counted him, and this Shu Ming was an obedient little shrimp, it was an indisputable fact that he beat Hu Hu. This alone, Yi Chen will never let Shu Ming go. Boy, when you come out, you always have to pay back. With a sneer, Yi Chen converged again, waiting for the 3 to come closer. Among the 3, the highest disciple was a disciple in Diong Peak, wearing a purple dress, and the 6th peak of Ningqi, followed by the thin-skinned disciple in Xingyi beside him. It is clear that the cultivation is only 5-fold. Brother Yang, what do you think of what happened in Haoshan yesterday? Shu Ming nodded and bowed to the disciple headed by Ziyi. Most likely will be the other 2 peaks. I think so. The Xingyi disciple groaned. It is not surprising that the three main peaks have always fought in the dark and the other two peaked. The three said, already in the valley. At this moment, Yi Chen's eyes flashed a little light, and when he was about to start, he felt the end of the valley, and someone came quickly. Besides, then it's a mess. Yi Chen fell asleep again. Soon, the disciples in the second wave of Diongfeng entered the valley, but they were a 5-member group. The strongest was only Chi-Chi, and the weakest was Chi-Chi. With sharp eyes, Xu Ming saw later generations, but his own brother. The brothers and sisters also go to the monster forest. The 8 were together, talking to each other some non-nutritive words. Kill the blood spider. Blood spider. That's a terrible monster. Let's go together. With that said, the 8 people would march toward Taniguchi together. However, just at this moment, a dark thing came from one side, and a closer look was an iron ball the size of an egg. Be careful. The disciple in Zi made a loud noise, very elegantly offering out the spirit sword in his sleeve. One sword split a half-moon-shaped blade, and Unbia Sedley split the black iron ball. Boom! Just listening to the sound of the explosion, the iron ball burst instantly, and the thick black smoke spread rapidly, covering an area of nearly 20 feet. Damn, it's a smoke bomb. In the dark fog, a scream was heard. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 28, Two Big Fish. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Yes, it was the smoke bomb that Yi Chen threw out, which was obtained from the humpbacked old man. Originally, he did not intend to use smoke bombs, but there were 8 people in the other party, and God knew what would happen, so after thinking about it, he decided to use smoke bombs to disturb their vision. Who is it? Get out! The black mist rushed to the disciples of Di Yangfeng's disciples. Boom! When the words fell, they heard the sound of the iron rod striking the back of the head. What? With a scream that killed a pig, a disciple fell to the ground on the spot. When disciple Ziyi saw this, he shot immediately, facing the direction of the scream was a palm. What? Suddenly, the screaming came out, and the disciples of Ziyi's horror failed to hit Yi Chen, instead overturning a disciple of Diongfeng. At this moment, Yi Chen had got up behind the disciple in Ziyi, and hit him firmly on the back of his head with a stick. Why not say that disciples in purple clothes are the 6 peaks of Ningxi? Yi Chen knocked down with a stick, but he didn't knock him out. Seeing this, Yi Chen consciously added a stick. At this moment, disciple Ziyi, who was swaying in place, put a whole big character on the ground. What? After disciple Ziyi fell, a scream came again, and Yi Chen knocked him with a stick without discussing. Next, the whole valley was filled with continuous screams. In the black mist, he could not see clearly, and he was attacked repeatedly. Yi Chen often succeeded. Even the disciple of Diongfeng, who was 7th heavy, was beaten with a punch, and then sent to sleep with a stick. He broke through to the 4th point of Ningxi. Even if he was head-to-head, he had enough confidence to single out the 8 of them, but for unnecessary trouble, Yi Chen decided to play yin. What? With the last scream, the 8 disciples of Di Yangfeng all fell to the ground. The black mist caused by the smoke bomb is still thick, and Yi Chen has come out with 8 storage bags, and also has an iron chain in his hand, one end of the chain, and 8 strong people tied up. Throwing them into the mountain forest behind the valley, Yi Chen did not forget to blow a drowsy fragrance to them before they left, in case they wake up and disturb him. After doing this, Yi Chen ran to the valley again, preparing to ambush the disciples of Diongfeng. From morning to morning, the disciples of Hengyu in the valley were uninterrupted. During this period, Yi Chen also made several shots, but they were all irrelevant small shrimps. They suddenly rushed out and went on a stick to save even the smoke bombs. All day, he hit a dozen disciples of Diongfeng before and after, and the harvest was not small, enough for him to sheik for a few days. It's getting dark, I don't know when it will start to dim. Yi Chen looked up at the last rays of the setting sun and decided to go back. However, as soon as he got up, he saw a wave of vigor coming from one end of Taniguchi. 2 vague figures came from the direction of the monster forest, and they hurried through the valley from far to near. Human Yuanjing, 2. Yi Chen retracted quietly again, and secretly caught 2 big fish. It was not until Yi Chen approached that they saw the faces of the 2. The comber was one high and one low. The tall one was called Wang Heng, the one with a tiger's back in the waist, with rage in his anger, and his muscles were very explosive. At first glance, he was a powerful monk. His name was Song Yu. The figure is slender, fair-skinned and delicate. I wonder if this is a girl. Slightly weaker Chi Hao can do it. Seeing Wang Heng and Song Yu entering their ambush range, Yi Chen took out 2 poisonous needles. People's realm is no better than condensed air, and they can be defeated without revealing their identities. Yi Chen believes that he can't do it, so he decides to resort to some tricks. He only robs money and does not hurt people. With this in mind, Yi Chen waved and threw a smoke bomb first. Be careful. Wang Heng and Song Yu's vigilance was not low, and when unknown objects suddenly flew in, they sacrificed spirit swords. Boom! The smoke bomb exploded and the thick smoke spread again. Who is it? Wang Heng, who was so big in shape, suddenly became furious. Ha! A slight humming sounded, and a venom needle of weak cow hair pierced the air and stabbed Wang Heng's arm, but he didn't notice it at all. On the other side, Song Yu's situation was the same. He was inserted into the back by a poisonous needle and did not feel the same. The two were tacit, back to back, sacrificing anger, and crazily dissipating the smoke in front of them. Soon, the two felt wrong. Brother Wang, do you feel a little dizzy? Song Yu froze. Yeah, a bit. Wang Heng shook his head and felt that his whole body was so soft that even Qi was at peace, and he couldn't use any energy. The venomous needle of the humpbacked man is really overbearing. Yi Chen secretly saw Wang Heng and Song Yu's appearance, and couldn't help sighing. His secret needle was still used less. Such an overbearing poisonous needle was used in this is really a waste. Boom, boom, 2 consecutive sounds rang, and the back of the 2 men was knocked with a hard object, and then they were unconscious. Don't blame me. If you want to blame you, blame your master. Yi Chen stepped out, dragging one person with one leg in one hand, and quickly hid in the forest. According to the first 20 disciples of Diangfeng, Wang Heng and Song Yu's storage bags were collected. All valuable things were covered by Yi Chen. After doing this, Yi Chen disappeared into the night, and he did not forget to detoxify Wang Heng and Song Yu before leaving. What? Soon, the dark mountain forest was shattered by successive roars. The disciples of Di Yangfeng, who was knocked out by Yi Chen, woke up and saw that their storage bags, valuables and even their clothes were gone, and a loud scolding was heard. At night, a group of disciples of Di Yangfeng staggered to Hengyu Zongling Mountain. What's the situation? Looking at the disciples of Di Yangfeng, the corners of Heng Yizong's mouth twitched several times. Do not complain that they are so shocked, mainly because it is difficult for these 20 disciples of Diangfeng not to be noticeable. They are all shirtless, with only one pair of floral pants left on their bodies. The most important thing is that this kind of wolf is not only one person, but more than 20 people. This has become the most beautiful scenery at night. Have been robbed. Everyone had the same question. It's a big deal. All the clothes have been picked up. How hungry the murderer is. Who did it? As soon as more than 20 people stepped on the earth's peak, a hysterical anger was heard from Zhe Hong. Yi Chen, the mastermind of all these things, is now counting his spoils in the little spirit garden. Today's harvest is more than twice what it was yesterday. The most important thing is the contribution of Wang Heng and Song Yu's personal realm. The wealth of condensed realm is really full compared with human realm. A lot. The candlelight flickered in the room. Yi Chen put the spirit stone, spirit fluid and spirit tools into the storage bag, but took an ancient scroll in his hand. The scrolls are a bit broken, and maybe the years are too long, so that the scrolls are a little yellow. Refiner Trick. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 29, Akatsuki. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Refiner Tactics. Yi Chen touched his chin and continued watching. Soon, Yi Chen's joy appeared on his face. Because this volume records the method of refining weapons, which details the good materials required for refining weapons, as well as how to refining weapons and how to temper them. This is baby. Yi Chen applauded in his heart. After reading the recipe of the refining device, Yi Chen groaned for a moment, and he had a calculation in his heart. that is, to make a weapon by himself. Although the Templar's sword is easy to use, it will be greatly slowed down due to the weight. If you discard the Templar's sword in a duel, the speed will be greatly improved. Then, if you have a powerful weapon in your hand, it will be even more powerful. Thinking of this, Yi Chen once again picked up the refiner scrolls and carefully realized. He sat all night. In the early morning, he ate a little food and closed himself in the door again. It wasn't until the morning that he really put down the scroll of the refining tool. The refiner needs fire, which is tailor-made for me. Yi Chen's mouth dipped into a smile, and Wang Hengkong secretly guarded the wealth of such an implement, but he could only watch it because he had no fire. One shot of the storage bag, and as soon as the sound of crickets came out, a glowing spirit weapon flew out. There were a spirit sword, a spear, and a sledgehammer. These were the times he robbed the disciples of Di Yangfeng income. At this moment, he is going to fuse these spirit artifacts into one furnace and refine the most refined parts contained in them. Just do it. At the thought, Yi Chen summoned the real fire. With the movement of the mind, the real fire changed form, and Yi Chen condensed into a stove. Immediately, a glowing spirit sword was thrown into the furnace by him, then carefully controlled the flames, slowly removing the impurities from the spirit sword, and then quenching the most delicate part of it. Soon, the spirit sword was melted by the real fire in high temperature. Don't Yi Chen refine into a fist-sized liquid. This liquid is full of mottled colors. The spirit sword is not a top grade, and the refined material is not excellent. Too much impurities are doped in it. At the moment, under the true fire quenching, all appear. The flames rose. Yi Chen was not impatient, and slowly eliminated the impurities in the liquid. After half an hour, the liquid that was originally the size of a fist was scrutinized to the size of a nail, although it was small, but it was the most refined part. With a thought, Yi Chen flew out of the nail-sized liquid. Once leaving the furnace, the liquid of the nail returned to the solid state of mind because of the sudden drop in temperature, and Yi Chen grabbed it in his hands. It looked like a crystal, glowing and very hard. With a good start, Yi Chen is full of energy. The furnace flames were burning fiercely, and a hammer was thrown into him, and then the action of tempering the sword was repeated. Time passed, and night fell quickly. During this period, Yi Chen failed many times, because he couldn't control the real fire, so that even the essence contained in the spiritual artifacts were refined into fly ash. However, he is not without gain. Next to him, there are many small and large crystal fragments. These are the essence of spirit artifacts. It was not until late at night that Yi Chen refined all the Reiki essences. Call. First step. Done. A long spit of breath was spit out by him with a tired look on his face, and it was only day and night that he had a beard stubble in his corners and bloodshot eyes. Refining the essence of many spiritual artifacts, he was considered to have completed the first step. The next step was to fuse these spiritual artifacts together, and then go through the real fire to refine it. A bottle of Yuling liquid was poured into the mouth. Yi Chen supplemented his body consumption, and began the second step of fusion. Still a flame stove, Yi Chen put many refined artifact essences into it. Soon, under the burning of real fire, the solid spirit essence turned into a liquid again, and then was controlled by Yi Chen to continue to fuse into one body. This step was not difficult. It took less than an hour and he turned it. The fusion is complete. At this moment, he was holding a piece of brick-colored iron in his hand, which was the form of the fusion of many spiritual essences. The red iron is very extraordinary, but it fuses many essences, glowing with red light. It is very hard and extremely quintessential. It is definitely an excellent material for making weapons. If it is made into weapons, it will naturally be weak. After receiving the iron of red color, Yi Chen flashed out of the room door and jumped out of the small spiritual garden. Because of the next 1,000 hammers, there must be a sound. He didn't want to disturb Zhang Fengnian and Hua's rest. Looking for a secret place, Yi Chen once again condensed the real fire into the shape of a furnace. Then he dropped the red iron. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen carefully controlled the flames, continuously tempering the red iron, and tempering it towards the shape of a sword. This was an extremely time-consuming project. It took Yi Chen a full 6 hours to barely train a poor sword blank, and the sword body was potty and rough. Anyway, the shape of the sword is there. After wiping out a sweat, Yi Chen continued to train without urgency and snoring. This process is extremely long. Yi Chen went from night to early morning, and then from morning to night. It took 3 days and nights to reincarnate, and one never stopped. In the meantime, the poor sword blank was tempered inch by inch, and the potholes on the sword body were smoothed by him bit by bit. He was like a sculptor and could not tolerate any flaws in his sword. I do not know when. When the first chirping of the sword rang, Yi Chen's tired face was the first time to show a gratifying smile. His sword, which lasted 4 days and nights, was finally refined. At one stroke of the stove, the red long sword was shaken out and Yi Chen grabbed it in his hand. Later, he cut through the palm of his hand, and the blood flowed out along it, flowing along the hilt of the sword, and full of the sword. This is the blood sacrifice sword, but the last step in making weapons. Soon, his blood dipped into the red sword at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Immediately, the red sword trembled, and the sound of the ringing sounded. The red light bloomed and was very flexible. Under the moonlight star, there was a flickering sword on, which seemed to be indestructible. Holding a long sword, Yi Chen slashed out. Boom! Not far away, a boulder was split like a tofu, and the red sword was really sharp. From then on, you're called Qishao. Yi Chen stroked the red sword lightly and couldn't put it down. This was his hard work over the past few days, and it was also the finished product of his first refining machine, which is definitely memorable. Holding Chennai and Qishao's sword, Yi Chen lay on the stone comfortably. Tomorrow, continue to knock on the sap. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, Yi Chen did not forget to look up at the towering Diong Peak on the Hengyu Lingshan. Calculate me, you have to pay the price. Yi Chen sneered. Almost 5 days have passed since Hengyu Haoshan knocked the sap, and Yi Chen determined that Zhe Hong had relaxed his vigilance, which also meant that it was time for him to return. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 30, Lively Back Mountain. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. The next day, before dawn, Yi Chen was put on a black robe and went to Hengyu Lingshan. For the first time, he went straight to Haoshan, changed into a tattered shirt, messed his hair, smeared mud on his face, and finally hid in the lush weeds. Just finish this ticket. While watching the disciples of Hengyu in the past, Yi Chen made such a decision in his heart. He confessed that he was well thought out and thoughtful. However, there is no impenetrable wall for everything. If you want to see it well, you can take it. God knows where there is an omission that he had never thought of, and that will cause him to kill himself. As the sky was completely bright, the silhouette of Hengyu Zonghaoshan gradually increased. However, Yi Chen discovered a weird phenomenon, that is, the disciples of Diongfeng who came to pick the spirit grass today, none of them are described individually, or in groups of 3 or 5. Pick a spirit grass and team up. Among the weeds, Yi Chen's mouth sneered. It seems that Di Yangfeng's disciples have learned cleverly, for fear of someone knocking on their sap behind them, then they formed a team to pick the spirit grass. Figured this out, Yi Chen was a little tangled. Although he believes that the current cultivation is realm and strength, he is not afraid of any Diongfeng disciples, even if they are in groups of 3 or 5, Yi Chen has the confidence to knock them all down. However, this is not a valley. Once they are not beaten up in the first place, there will be trouble, and it is more likely to attract more people. That is the most nonsense thing. Okay. When tangled, Yi Chen saw a familiar figure from afar. His eyes were red and his face was gloomy and scary, as if everyone owed him a lark. Look carefully, isn't it Zhao Long? Dare you come out alone, you are not brave. Yi Chen sneered in the weeds, and had found a black iron rod out of the storage bag. However, when Yi Chen was about to leave, he found that Zhao Long had also found a black iron rod from the storage bag, and Yi Chen looked at him on the spot. Yi Chen didn't move, she retracted again. His eyes moved along with Zhao Long's figure. He saw Zhao Long walking with a black iron rod and went straight behind a disciple of Tianyangfeng, then he stunned and went down. Yi Chen opened his mouth, and was there on the spot. Let your Tianyang Peak count my Diong Peak, and let you Tianyang Peak count my Diong Peak. When Yi Chen froze, then Zhao Long thumped the iron rod again and slammed in that faint Tianyang disciple Feng. As soon as this word came out, Yi Chen could not help but twitch. All right, in the past 2 incidents of sap, Di Yangfeng Zhe Hong was counted on Tian Yangfeng's head. Seeing this, Yi Chen in the weeds couldn't help rubbing his brows. This was something he hadn't expected, and his target was Diangfeng, but he did not expect Diangfeng to be the murderer. For a while, Yi Chen's face became a little bit more exciting. It can be considered to understand why the disciples of Diangfeng came to the mountain today. Where did they come to pick the grass? What? Sure enough, a scream like a pig was heard soon from the northeast. What? Another scream came from the northwest. What? Screams from the southeast also followed. What? Followed by the southwest direction, the scream was called an infiltration. Soon, the noise rang, and people from all directions gathered in this direction, all the disciples of Diangfeng, and everyone had a black iron rod in his hands. I knocked both Tianyang peaks. I knocked on Yangfeng 3. I knocked 1 at Tianyangfeng and 2 at Renyangfeng. Disciples of Diangfeng each reported their own results, and their expressions were either resentment, refreshment, or excitement. Withdraw. As Zhao Long waved his hands, Di Yangfeng's disciples evacuated Heng Yizong's Haoshan. After the crowd left, Yi Chen jumped out of the weeds and yanked her ears. This can't be against me. With that said, he was also covered in a black robe, and Ma Lu withdrew from Heng Yizong's Haoshan. This place is a right and wrong place and can no longer be stayed. He knew that for many days to come, the Heng Yizong Haoshan would not be calm again. People at Diangfeng will think that they are the people of Renyangfeng and Tianyangfeng. The Renyang summit thought it was the ghost of Tianyang Peak. The Tianyang summit thought it was the ghost of Renyangfeng. The 3 main peaks of the outside gate restrained each other. It has always been an open fight, and naturally, mutual suspicion is inevitable. At this moment, no matter who was the first to sap, it is already doomed to be hard to say at this time. Hey, Yi Chen rubbed his temples, creating evil. He can already imagine the pictures in the next few days. The disciples of the 3 main peaks will go to the back to collect elixir, and they will surely get a black iron rod. Out of Heng Yizong Haoshan, Yi Chen went to Wanbao Pavilion. Just walked in, was looking at the huge sea behind the counter and glanced at Yi Chen, and said angrily, "Boy, what do you mean by a black robe this day?" Yi Chen grinned. He didn't want to let people know that he had recovered, so he was covered in black. He never thought that he could not escape the eyes of the vast sea. Bearing more than 100 fire whip, you can get out of bed and walk so fast, boy, your bones are hard enough. The huge sea put down the ancient book, and looked at Yi Chen up and down with big eyes. "Elder, do you know what happened to my fire?" "Crap, the whole outside door, who doesn't know?" Hearing that, Yi Chen could not help but cough, then handed a storage bag, "Elder, magnolia flower." After receiving the storage bag, he glanced inside the huge sea and found that there were as many as 6,000 spirit stones. Rao was surprised by him. An internship apprentice had so many spirit stones, no problem. That's strange. Where are you so many spirit stones? Although the vast sea has no habit of asking questions, it still cannot help asking. Pick it. Picked up. You picked up a bit more. Good luck, good luck. Yi Chen touched the tip of his nose. Tell me another day, and I'll pick up some more. Da Hai Hai glanced at Yi Chen, after all, didn't ask any more, but took out a storage bag from his arms and handed it to Yi Chen. After receiving the storage bag, Yi Chen Ma slipped into his arms, but instead of leaving immediately, he looked at the huge sea and asked, "Elder, is our Heng Yizong's library open to the disciples?" Quote, "On the last day of each month, only that day will be open to trainees." That's 3 days later. Yi Chen muttered softly and turned out of the library. After Yi Chen left, the huge sea froze his beard, and his old eyes were full of deep meaning. This boy is really a freak. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 31, read by www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Back at the little spirit garden, Yi Chen locked herself in the door. He bought a lot of snow magnolia flowers this time, and he decided to make all the jade syrup to prepare for breakthrough to the 5th condensate. The true fire was offered, and a plant of spirit grass was put in. He practiced in one breath until the night came, and after swallowing a bottle of jade spirit liquid, he started again. There was nothing to say all night, and then dawn. Today's Heng Yizong is particularly lively. More precisely, it is Heng Yizong's back mountain. Yesterday, the disciples of Tian Yangfeng and Ren Yangfeng were beaten up in Haoshan. Zhang Laodao and Qingyong were outraged. They discipled the disciples to beware of the other two peaks. There were also disciples who let them go mean. As Yi Chen expected, Heng Yizong's back mountain became the battlefield of the three main peaks. So much so that there is such a phenomenon: every disciple who goes to collect the spirit grass has a black iron rod in his arms. You knock me sap, I'll knock back when I die. Almost all disciples who are knocked out of the sap have such a mentality. Dumb loss cannot eat in vain. The fire in my heart, I care whether you are a murderer, according to knocking, to vent the sullen heart. What? Haoshan screamed like a pig, from Tianming to dark, causing the elders of Heng Yizong's disciples to be confused. These three main peaks are going to be heavens. Since then, Haoshan can't go in casually. God knows that he will be knocked on a sap someday. Knock whoever knocks, whoever doesn't knock me. After a day, most of the disciples who came into Haoshan came out with their heads covered, their noses swollen, their footprints covered, or their bodies covered with bruises, which turned out to be beautiful scenery. Hidden battles intensified. With the passage of time, the dark battle gradually evolved into the bright battle, and the battlefield moved from Heng Yizong Haoshan to Heng Yizong's Fengyuntai. Qianyang Peak Kongal, get out of Lao Su, I'll wait for you at Fengyuntai. At dawn, Di Yangfeng's disciples wrote a challenge book. His challenge seemed to have a chain reaction, and the voice of the challenge continued. Ren Yangfeng Yukang, I'm waiting for you at Fengyuntai. Di Yangfeng Zhao Long, you ****** mother, I'll never die without you. Don't him. Mom plays yin, there's a kind of fight on stage. There has always been personal grievances among the three main peak disciples. This sap incident has truly become the fuse for their war. Fengyuntai has been in full swing all day. Their mutual challenges have made Fengyuntai, which is already lively, become a real meeting place. If it ever happened, I'm afraid it has happened since I founded Hengyu. The three main peaks just started to get confused. It's been a long time since then. Even if there is no sap incident, they will start sooner or later. And Yi Chen, the root cause of all these, was refining the jade spirit liquid at the little spirit garden at this time. The scent of herbal medicine in the entire little spirit garden soaked the mind and spleen. It's so fragrant. Tiger Baby stood outside the door of Yi Chen's room with big eyes, sucking the aroma overflowing in the room greedily. Yu Lingye, once an elder of Heng Yizong, Zhang Fengnian was very familiar with the aroma of medicine. Zhang Fengnian's eyes still have a strange color. The Yuling liquid is cool and mild, and the scent of Yuling liquid flowing from the room is steaming. It is obviously the freshly released Yuling liquid. Beard. Late at night, Yi Chen's door opened. Yi Chen, who was embarrassed, came out from inside, with disheveled hair, tired face, and beard stubble near his mouth. He stretched a lazy waist fiercely, and Yi Chen made a crackling sound inside his body. 2 days and 3 nights, he fully refined hundreds of bottles of jade spiritual fluid, the manipulation of fire, the refinement of jade spiritual fluid, more and more proficient. The giant bird named Kitty didn't seem to be asleep, fluttering over his wings, and his furry head was gnawing at Yi Chen's body from time to time. Its injuries have not fully recovered, and it wants to fly in the air for at least months. Hungry, Yi Chen stroked the eagle's furry head lightly. Xiaoying's spirituality is not low, he seems to understand Yi Chen's words and shakes his head. Yi Chen smiled slightly, brushed his palm over the storage bag, took out a large piece of meat, and handed it to Xiaoying. Kitty's eyes instantly became clear and delicious. Help you. Yi Chen stroked Xiaoying's head again, and then punched a bottle of Yuling liquid into Xiaoying's body. When Yuling liquid entered the body, Kitty felt that his whole body was steaming. The majestic strength supported his body, and he could not help looking up at Yi Chen. He was still a little scared in his eyes, for fear that his body would be burst. It's okay, is there me? Yi Chen smiled, and the real fire had already been sacrificed. Seeing the the horror appeared in Kitty's eyes, as if he knew the horror of the real fire in Yi Chen's hands, so that his body could not help shaking. "Don't be afraid." With a slight smile, Yi Chen wrapped the kitty's body with real fire, and then poured into the kitty's body, helping the kitty to refine the bottle of jade spiritual fluid. Without the pain of burning, the eagle felt warm and trembling, and could not help but return to its normal state. The refined jade liquid and the majestic spirit nourished its injury. Within a quarter of an hour, the kitty fluttered its wings and jumped a little, and could barely fly in midair. This spirit bird seemed to be very capricious, and could fly again, making it reluctant to fall, and tossed in midair for a long time before landing, perhaps tired, and fell into a deep sleep. Sleep. Everything will be fine tomorrow. Yi Chen smiled at Xiaoying's head, then turned and entered Hua's room. The tiger baby was unpretentious, and she slept soundly in bed, but she didn't find Yi Chen coming in. When he came to the bed, Yi Chen examined Hua's body carefully. He found that the child's congenital psychic occlusion was unopened, not to mention the opening of the dantian. If he had such a constitution, he would not be a monk for life. Under normal circumstances, a person's meridians can be unblocked to open up the spiritual consciousness. The spiritual consciousness is the gateway to dantian. Only when the spiritual consciousness is opened and dantian opens up can we attract the heaven and earth into the body and become a real monk. But if a person's meridians are blocked in nature, and someone wants to become a monk, then someone must open the meridians to his body. Yi Chen groaned for a moment, and a real fire was injected into the baby's body. Yes, he wants to temper the body for the tiger baby, then open up the meridians for him, open up the magic, and then open up the dantian. Soon, the pain appeared on Hua's face, and she wanted to wake up, but was again sent to dream by Yi Chen's fragrant incense. Controlling the real fire, Yi Chen carefully tempered her body for the tiger baby, for fear that the terrible fire would hurt the tiger baby. Before long, he was sweating. However, his hard work was not in vain. Through the true fire tempering, the meridians of the tiger baby became tough, and the blocked meridians also became loose, which was slowly opened up by a true breath injected by Yi Chen. This process is very time-consuming. It was not until dawn that Yi Chen opened all the meridians of the tiger baby, and through the tempering of the real fire, the impurities in the tiger baby's body overflowed through the pores, and he could vaguely see him in his sleep, showing a comfortable smile. Call. With a spit of stale air, Yi Chen's tight body stretched out. Then, the next step is to get psychic. Yi Chen smiled slightly, and he was already halfway there. It will be a little painful, bear with me. After a brief rest, Yi Chen sacrificed Qi again into tiger's body, and then passed through the tiger's meridians, impacting the barrier to dantian. Well, the first impact, the pain of Hua's small face appeared. Come again. Yi Chen went step by step and didn't dare to carelessly, because if he was not careful, he would kill the baby. He is imbued with the authenticity of the tiger baby, just like a sharp sword, constantly impacting, and the impact strength is from weak to strong. The baby's small face has been covered with sweat and his face is pale as paper. He was asleep, and he would wake up in pain. Hold on, your destiny may change because of this. Yi Chen is still struggling with that qi to strike that barrier. It was almost dawn. Rao was Yi Chen, and his face was a little pale. When such a voice sounded in Hua's body, the spiritual trick leading to dantian was really opened up by Yi Chen. Suddenly, the aura of heaven and earth fluctuated, converging towards the body of the tiger baby, forming a vortex of aura. It seemed to find a vent, and poured into his body through the pores of the tiger baby's body. Wangtian deserves someone who cares for you. Yi Chen exhaled a stale gas, and could not help but wipe a cold sweat. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 32, Bookstore. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. It was bright. Yi Chen did not rest, and set about preparing breakfast for Zhang Fengnian and Hua. The door opened. Zhang Fengnian walked out with a crutch, and saw Yi Chen, smiling gently. Young man, get up so early. I can't sleep, I get up. Yi Chen smiled fluently. A hard-working person like you is really rare. Senior joked. Grandpa. The conversation between the two was interrupted by the suddenly rushed tiger baby. The tiger baby walked inexplicably to Zhang Fengnian and Yi Chen, pointed at the air flowing around him, looked at the two in doubt. What's wrong with me? I feel like I am rushing into my body with something. Quote. Reiki. Zhang Fengnian fixed his eyes and looked a little bit wrong, hurriedly examining Hu Hua's body. How is this? Zhang Fengnian's eyes were stunned. I can practice. Hu Hua raised her head and looked at Yi Chen and Zhang Fengnian. Yes, of course. Zhang Fengnian seemed more excited than he thought. From today, you are a monk. Yi Chen patted Hu Hua's shoulder. I'm a monk. Hu Hua jumped excitedly, really a naive and brilliant child, bouncing in the little spirit garden, and finally ran to the spirit beast named Xiaoying, dancing. Kitty, I can practice, and I can protect you in the future. Ha! The eagle seemed to understand, and the barking sounded with joy. God has eyes. Zhang Fengnian smiled and looked at the jumping tiger baby. His complexion instantly improved a lot, as if he were younger for several years. Yi Chen aside, looked at Hu Hua silently. He is also happy for the tiger baby, but he has some contradictions in his heart. Is this really for him? The path taken by monks is much more difficult than mortals. Taking this path means having a longer lifespan than mortals, but at the same time having a long life. It is also accompanied by loneliness. The path of the monks must be more cruel. Yi Chen didn't know whether it was right or wrong to change the fate of the tiger baby without authorization. Perhaps when the tiger baby really understood the hardship of the monk's journey, it was far more free and easy to be immortal than a monk. After a simple breakfast, Yi Chen walked out of the little spirit garden. Today, he is not wearing a black robe, because he knew that he didn't need to cover it at this moment. The disciples of the three main peaks were already in full swing. Even if he appeared on the Lingshan mountain of Hengyu, it would be difficult for the three main peaks to focus on him. However, his appearance has attracted the attention of too many people. Anyone who sees Yi Chen's disciples of Hengyu will be shocked. Stood more than 100 fire whip. Is that all right? Is he evil? There were no scars on my body. It was only a few days. What? When he heard Yi Chen appearing alive again and again, Yin Jiping of the commandment hall suddenly got up. His face was irresistibly shocked. Not only him, but Qianyang Peak, Diong Peak, and Renyang Peak are the disciples and elders of the entire Hengyu ancestor. After hearing this, they will be surprised. In just a few days, all the wounds have recovered. Ever since the founding of Heng Yizong, no one has done it. Fast, the disciples of Ren Yangfeng and Tian Yangfeng are working in Fengyuntai again. I heard that Di Yangfeng's disciples also went. I heard that there are still disciples from Yuan Jingshou who participated in the war. Soon, hordes of people swarmed towards Fengyuntai. This also means that the astonishment of Yi Chen's recovery was immediately overwhelmed by the disciples of the three main peaks in Fengyuntai. Fengyuntai hit fiercely. Yi Chen did not stop. Today is the day when the Hengyu Zong collection book pavilion was opened for the intern disciples. He didn't want to waste time because he went to watch the lively. In front of a magnificent pavilion, Yi Chen stopped. Compared to the past, today's library is quieter, and there are no personal pictures. Xu Shi went to Fengyuntai to watch the liveliness. Nothing is right, it's rare to be quiet. With a slight smile, Yi Chen stepped into the library. The library is self-contained, vast and magnificent. The rows of bookshelves are filled with ancient scrolls. There are as many as 100,000. These are collected by Heng Yizong, although they are on the first floor, but it is also a precious thing. The caretaker of the library is a bad old man with gray beard and disheveled hair. Elder, Yi Chen saluted respectfully. Come in. The identity card is here with me. The real man Huang Shi looked up and down Yi Chen, and he showed a big yellow tooth when he spoke. Yi Chen handed the identity card and walked in. There are many ancient scrolls on the bookshelf, and I took the next one and found out that it was an ancient scroll introducing the spirit grass. Shaking his head slightly, Yi Chen put it back into the distance. The library was quiet. Yi Chen was also very quiet, picking all the way like shopping. All the scrolls were taken down and put back into place. At 3 hours, he never found a scroll related to Zonshu Gong Fa. It seems that the Xuanshu exercises are all on the upper layers. Yi Chen groaned. In Heng Yizong, the intern disciple can only enter the first floor of the library. As for the upper floors, in his current status, he does not have that qualification. A little disappointed, Yi Chen picked up the ancient scroll again to read it. Old man in Wangshi, miss me. The quiet library was broken by a voice at the door, and it seemed that someone had come to the library again. Little bunny, stealing things here again, be careful I'm stabbing you. Huang Shizhen's cursing voice suddenly sounded. Look at you, am I that kind of person? Get out of here. After a few simple conversations, Yi Chen, who was watching ancient books, saw the person coming. Suddenly, Yi Chen twitched sharply at the corners of his mouth. This food eats what grew up. Don't blame him for this expression, just blame the person who came over too. It was a young man of about 13 or 14 years old. He was not as tall as a tiger, but he was not obese. He walked on the road and looked at it as if he was looking at it. Besides, his dress is the most amazing one Yi Chen has ever seen. He had two clothes all over, a large trousers on his lower body, and a small waistcoat on his upper body. His eyes were small and barely visible. He was bare-chested and milky. Heng Yu has many talents. Looking at the little fat man, Yi Chen sighed meaningfully. While talking, the little fat man has come over. As he passed by Yi Chen, he also looked up and down Yi Chen, although his eyes were small, but he was very focused, seeing that everything was a thief. I haven't seen you. The fat man touched his fat chin. I just arrived. The fat man responded at will, and then walked over. However, as soon as he took 2 steps, he came back with a fluttering nose, and then sniffed like a dog. Soon, the little fat man sniffed Yi Chen. Really? The fat man looked up suddenly, a pair of small eyes shining fiery light, staring at Yi Chen. Do you have real fire? Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 33, Bear 2. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Do you have real fire? Hearing this voice, Yi Chen frowned suddenly. The real fire is his biggest secret, which he has been hiding for a long time. Rao is the first of the 3 main peaks in Chao Tai Fuk. They did not see it, and they would be smelled by the little fat man in front of him. Yi Chen's heart was full of shock. Did you have real fire? The little fat man's 2 chubby hands had already grasped Yi Chen's arm, and his voice couldn't help being lowered, for fear that the real Wangshi outside would hear it. How precious is the real fire? Where can I have an intern disciple? Although shocked, Yi Chen smiled slightly. You lie to me less, I can smell it. I'm afraid you smell it wrong. No, then, I'll find a personal test. Then, the little fat man turned directly, took a sigh of relief, and uttered a voice in the direction of the door. Old man, this kid has real. Woo-woo. Quote. Before the word, fire, came out, Yi Chen stepped forward and covered the mouth of the goods, and let Wangshi's real person come to check. His true fire iron could not be hidden. Little fat man, you will have a lot. Yi Chen's forehead scrambled with black lines. It's not unreasonable for this little fat man to grow fat. This was all supported by ghost ideas. Look at it, I'll say yes. The fat man broke off Yi Chen's palm, rubbing his fluffy hands. His 2 small eyes were still polished. You're fierce. Yi Chen took a deep breath, after all, resisted the impulse of violent obesity on the spot. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Wangshi came scoldingly and came over, staring at the fat man with a beard and staring. Are you full? I practice my throat. The little fat man yanked his ears. After all, he didn't shake out the real things of Yi Chen. Quiet Lao Su. Huang Shizhen turned black and turned away. After walking a few steps, Huang Shizhen looked back at the fat man again. Yes, you said that he had a real. What is it? Asked by a real person from Wangshi, the fat man's eyes narrowed. I'm really angry. After hearing what the fat man said, Rao Yi almost smiled. I'm going to your grandma. Huang Shizhen's big body flew over on the spot. A big mouth called to the fat man's face. Which one of the people of Heng Yizong is not angry? What a fuss. Talking, Wangshi turned back and left. After Huang Shi lived, the fat man who was knocked down on the ground climbed from the ground. A slap print on his chubby face was clearly visible. You're an old man, wait for the little man. The little fat man covered his face and scolded him. Aside, Yi Chen glanced at and was about to leave. You can't leave. Seeing Yi Chen leaving, the fat man grabbed him on the spot. Are you okay? Yes, yes, said the fat man, use your real fire to help me refine a baby. No time. Old man Huang, this kid. Refining. Yi Chen really lost his temper. The two arrived one after the other. At this hour on weekdays, there is no shortage of Hengyu disciples who collect spiritual grass in Haoshan, but today, there is no one here. They all went to Fengyuntai to see the three main peaks. Let's talk about it beforehand. I can do it for you. I have something really hot and you can't shake me out. Along the way, Yi Chen repeatedly emphasized this problem. You can rest assured, my mouth is very tight, hee 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 hee. The fat man patted his chest. Also, you can't do it for nothing, give me 500 spirit stones, otherwise, don't talk. The deal. The fat man is very refreshing. He is so refreshing that Yi Chen can't help but be full of curiosity about the baby he wants to refine. The 500 spirit stones do not blink, that baby must be extraordinary. The two found a hidden cave, and the little fat man took out what he said was a treasure. It was a mace, dark and dark. The overall impression was heavy, and it was definitely a fierce weapon. See, there's a hint of black gas on it. The fat man took the mace closer and pointed at the black gas lingering on the mace. Yi Chen rolled his eyes together. The black gas was only as thin as the hair, and he couldn't see it if he didn't look closely. The black gas gave him the feeling of coldness, smell it carefully, and a ****** gas. What is this? Yi Chen asked, pointing to Haichi. The evil thoughts of a master on mace. With it, I can't let mace recognize him. Evil thoughts. When he heard the name, Yi Chen could not help but flash a shock. The evil thoughts of life can still be left on the weapon. It is conceivable how strong the original owner of the mace is, and the mace must be a powerful weapon. Are you sure that real fire can refine him? Yi Chen glanced at the fat man. Energy, energy, the fat man said with affirmation. Every evil thought is the most overlying thing. The thing most afraid of the sun is the true fire that is born from heaven and earth. It is definitely a kind of sun, and it must be refining. Quote. Let's get started, Yi Chen said, with a hard motion, summoning the real fire. The flames of the real fire rose, allowing the temperature in the cave to rise instantly, and the walls around it shone like gold. It's a real and overbearing fire, and it can definitely be refined, hee 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 hee. Seeing Yi Chen's real fire, the little fat man was full of confidence and hurriedly suspended the mace in the air. Yi Chenu moved real fire and wrapped mace. There was real fire burning, and the black gas was struggling violently. What? In the midst of it, there seemed to be screams, so that Yi Chen and the little fat man could not help but have a momentary chatter. Look, let me say it. Seeing that trace of black gas struggling, the fat man rubbed his chubby little hand. Evil thoughts are too strong. It takes an hour. Yi Chen asked about the time. It's okay, I have time. The fat man squatted down, staring at his mace straightly. This puppet was too fat. Squatting down, the whole body of fat was piled together. It was like a puppet of fat. My name is Shang-Er. The fat man reported his name while watching the mace. Bear too. I'm the second child at home, so my dad named me Shang-Er. Hearing that Yi Chen's mouth could not help but twitch a bit, looked at the fat man, and asked tentatively, then your brother is called Bear Big. Then your brother, wouldn't you call Shang-san? I have no brother. Yi Chen didn't ask again. He thought that Shang-Er was already wonderful enough. He would have been even more strange before he reached his father, otherwise he wouldn't give them such a lawless name. What? There was another scream of screams on the mace. Looking at that trace of black gas, it has become extremely thin. It is just the evil thoughts of the masters during his lifetime. The real fire is his innate nemesis. No matter how it struggles, it cannot escape being refined. After an hour, Yi Chen received the real fire. Yes, hee hee. Shang-Er took the mace, and couldn't wait to drop the blood on the mace. Soon, the blood was absorbed. Then the mace trembled. Big, get bigger. Shang-Er became the master, and with a single thought, the mace became huge instantly, so that it was finally thicker than a tree, taller than a person, and full of heavy air. If this is a hit, Few people can stand it. Yi Chen touched his chin and secretly said that the mace was fierce. On the side, Shang has received a mace and is in a good mood. He patted Yi Chen's shoulder and said, "My dear, I'm in a good mood today, please drink." Yi Chen glanced at Shang. "Don't you want to give money? You and I are the same as before, talking about money hurts my feelings." "I depend." Unexpectedly, Shang grabbed Yi Chen's neck directly and squeezed his eyebrows. "You have real fire. Would you like to have a big ticket with me? Give money." Yi Chen's face darkened. "You need snow magnolia flowers." Shang frowned again. Hearing, Yi Chen raised an eyebrow. He looked down on this little fat man, the monkey sperm and the monkey sperm, knowing that he had real fire. He must also know that he was refining the jade liquid, and even more knew that the only thing missing from Yi Chen's refining the water was the snow magnolia. "The elder who is guarding the Lingsao garden is my old uncle." Shang words made Yi Chen's eyes light up instantly. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 34, Stealing Grass. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. At night, Yi Chen and Shang arrived at the Lingsao garden outside the gate of Heng Yizong. Lingsao garden covers an extremely large area. Looking at it, the entire Lingsao garden is filled with lingering clouds and mists, and various kinds of spirit grasses are flashing various brilliance. Before entering, you have already smelled a strong herb fragrance. Naturally, the perimeter of this spiritual grass garden is full of prohibitions, and it is not for anyone who wants to enter. I said, "Okay." Yi Chen looked at the fat Shang beside him, and he always felt that the goods were unreliable. "Must do it." Shang patted his breast and walked into Lingsao garden. Yi Chen glanced around and immediately followed. In the Lingsao garden, there is a pavilion covering the depths of the linguo tree. Oh. Before Yi Chen and Shang approached, a woman's coquettish sound came out of the pavilion, and they could even see the shaking pavilion. Hearing, Yi Chen's mouth twitched, because he couldn't be more familiar with such a voice. That night, in the cave, the beautiful woman in the empty realm was more provocative than the woman in the pavilion at the moment. I said, "Your old uncle is very dedicated." Yi Chen could not help but look sideways at Shang. "But I don't sound like my auntie." Shang scratched his head. Immediately, Shang twisted his fat body and walked forward a few steps, and then tentatively called out to the attic, "Old man, hurry up and get dressed." Soon, there was a urging voice from the man in the attic. Soon, a rush of footsteps sounded, a disheveled male disciple and a disheveled female disciple appeared at the door of the attic. "Bear Fat, it's you." The male disciple, who was flustered, saw Shang and he breathed a sigh of relief, saying that he didn't forget to wave to the female disciple beside him, "Little baby, you go back first." Quote, "Tomorrow, I will come again." The female disciple was flushed. Talking, the female disciple twisted her enchanting body and walked outwards. When she passed Yi Chen, she did not forget to cast a wink. Yi Chen ignored it. Maybe from that night, he couldn't hold any woman in his heart. I said, "Li Sanner, you are too brave, aren't you afraid of gnawing you?" On the other side, Shang already grinned and scolded, "I do and know I thought it was him." Ma Qing, what about the floor? Quote, "The master and his elders are swimming in the sky. God knows when he will come back. I am lonely and have to find a companion. My old sister Yun swims. Half a month ago." "Oh, that's easy to do." Shang stepped forward, and then found an iron stick from his arms, splitting his head and covering his face with a stick. The male disciple was smashed and blindfolded on the spot. On the ground. Yi Chen on the side, yanking the corner of his mouth, "This is what you said to get the spirit grass. You rob it. It doesn't matter if he steals it or grabs it, he can get the spirit grass in his hands." Shang had already started and threw the male disciple into the grass. He clapped his hands and said, "My old man blame me, not me well. Let us not talk about it, let us not take too much. There is so much spiritual grass that we see and see." Quote, "How did I feel on the thief ship? Don't fix these useless, go." Although a little guilty, Yi Chen kept up. There are indeed a lot of spiritual grasses planted in the Lingsao garden. Many of them are dazzled by Yi Chen. Many of them are extremely rare. Many precious grasses are forbidden. He dare not delude. Soon, they came to the place where the snow magnolia was planted. Indeed, as Shang said, there are countless snow magnolia flowers here, and each one is shining with brilliant brilliance. Some of them are stolen and cannot be seen. The most important thing is that snow magnolia flowers are not those precious spirits, and there is no restriction around them. Throughout the entire Haoshan, you may not be able to collect a few snow magnolia flowers. There are so many here. Yi Chen sighed, secretly saying that Heng Yizong's generous handwriting, if these snow magnolia flowers were made into jade syrup, it would definitely be a considerable wealth. Unfortunately, this spirit grass garden is not his. Don't choke, pick, Shang urged. As he said, he started, took out a storage bag from the crotch, and then, like a robber, every time he shot, snow magnolia was taken away. Seeing this, Yi Chen no longer pestered, took out the storage bag, and killed him. Don't set aside a bit, it's too obvious. Crap, I know. You know you still have a little bit to pick, and you've been bald in that place. Under the moonlit night, the two had no restraint, just like two robbers. When the two people's storage bags were full, Shang waved his hand and said, "Withdraw." Yi Chen understood, stuffed the storage bag into his arms, and was about to leave, but the real fire in his body trembled. There is baby. This is the first sentence in Yi Chen's heart. Eyes narrowed slightly, Yi Chen glanced around, but his vision was limited and he didn't see anything strange. Go away. Shang dragged Yi Chen with one hand, and walked towards the outside. Although he went deeper, Yi Chen followed Shang. He knew that they had come to steal the spirit grass. In case someone blocked here, God knew what would happen. However, as soon as they came down to the attic and above the void, someone came to control the rainbow. Broken. My old man is back. Shang screamed badly. It's been the mold of 8 lives. Yi Chen screamed inwardly in his heart. When he didn't come back, he just came back at this time. While talking, a figure fell from the sky. To say that this man looks pretty Zhou Zheng, has a slender figure, and has the style of a senior man, but his mouth is a bit big. This person is the elder of the caretaker Ling Caoyuan, the oldest of Shang Lin Qingshan. Old man, you are back. Shang rubbed his hands and grinned. Shang Lin Qingshan stunned. What are you running my Lingsao garden in the middle of the night? Also, nothing. My father wants to marry another daughter-in-law and let me send you a wedding invitation. What? Lin Qingshan's expression sank instantly, and he was furious. Yi Chen, who was on the side, almost knelt on Shang The effort of making up nonsense was not covered. Du'ent bring such a daddy. Bear C, I think you are tired and crooked. Lin Qingshan was so angry that he turned around and flew towards the party angrily, watching the posture to find Shang old man to settle accounts. Yi Chen can imagine that Shang old man is destined to suffer. What are you doing? Let's go. When Lin Qingshan left, Shang immediately pulled Yi Chen out of the Lingsao garden. I said, aren't you afraid your old man would go back and punch you? Yi Chen sneered at Shang It's all right, I'm beaten every day. Quote. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 35, Changes in Purple Gold Gourd. Bycuge www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Late at night, Yi Chen and Shang came to Hengyu Zongo Mountain again. Still the cave, the two were counting the stolen snow magnolia flowers at this time. More than 900 strains, this is about to be sent. It's all made into jade spirit liquid, 55 minutes. The deal. As a result, the two searched again in Haoshan. The spirit grass needed for refining the jade spirit fluid is not just snow magnolia flowers, but also other kinds of spirit grasses. Fortunately, there are still many mountains in the back. Before dawn, the two goods returned to the cave exhausted. After working in the middle of the night, they finally managed to gather enough 500 herbs for refining the jade spirit solution. Kaigan. Yi Chen was so enthusiastic that he sacrificed the real fire and transformed it into the form of a furnace. On the one side, Shang was also full of energy. He fought for Yi Chen. A plant of spirit grass was thrown into the flame of the furnace according to Yi Chen's instructions. A new day is a new beginning. The disciples of the three main peaks are still in full swing in Fengyuntai, and on several occasions they almost beat the guys. But these did not disturb Shang-Er and Yi Chen in the slightest. The two goods are now working together to refining the jade syrup. The Chinese herbal medicine in the cave is rich in flavor and refreshing. Change day and night, reincarnation. Blink. 9 days passed quietly. During these 9 days, the two would rest for a while, and then stepped up the process again. It was another starry night, and the two lay on the ground exhausted, panting heavily. Their efforts were not wasted, and hundreds of bottles of Yuling liquid lay quietly beside them, looking at them with joy. I have a question, I wanted to ask it a long time ago. Shang-Er looked at Yi Chen in confusion. You have a real fire. For a sect, it's a citron. Why did you only win? Disciple. Quote. The husband is not guilty, and he cherishes his guilt. Yi Chen shrugged. The strange thing is that he really makes people jealous because of the real fire. There are too many people who poke at it. I don't want to cause unnecessary trouble because of it. This is also true. I don't plan to show my true fire to outsiders until my wings are full. After a month, it will be the outer door comparison. If you want to enter the inner door, don't use your real fire, I see hanging. Shang-Er pinched the fluttering chin. Outer door comparison. Yi Chen groaned. This Hengyu sect should be like the Zhengyang sect. There will be an outside door comparison every 3 years, and the last one can enter the inside door. Thinking of the outside door comparison, Yi Chen was a little stunned. It was more than a month after he was kicked out of Zhengyang Zong. If he was still at this time, I'm afraid he had already entered the inside door of Zhengyang Zong. Things are really fickle. Yi Chen couldn't help but sigh about his encounter. The sect discarded his disciples and suffered humiliation, but God was fair and gave him a second chance to let him shine again in Heng Yizong. I'm gone. Shang-Er patted his asterisk and stood up, digging his nose. Maybe my dad might want me all over the world. Said. Shang-Er jumped out of the cave. After Shang-Er left, Yi Chen closed the cave, and then sat cross-legged on the ground. Soon, 30 bottles of Yuling fluid were poured into his body by his brain, and the real fire immediately poured out, helping him to refine it into pure innocence. As the majestic qi was poured into the Danhai, the qi ocean in the Danhai began to wreak havoc, rolling waves, and a golden wave, and as the number of qi continued to increase, Yi Chen's cultivation was forced to condense the peak of qi quadruple. At this moment, his pores were wide open, and the whale swallowed the aura of heaven and earth. I do not know when he had such a voice in his body, and his state of breakthrough broke out to the 5th level of condensed gas. Call. With a long spit of stale air, Yi Chen felt relieved. Looking inside the body, Yi Chen found that her meridians became thicker, her bones became tougher in the subtle tempering of real fire, and the meridians and bones were stained with brilliant gold. Because of the advancement, Danhai's capacity has expanded again. The next breakthrough requires at least 100 bottles of Yuling liquid. Yi Chen asked Mo to estimate the amount of true energy needed for the next realm. He knows that the 5 condensates are a watershed in the condensate environment. The top 4 breakthroughs in Ningxi realm are not difficult, but since the 5th, there has been a big change, so that every breakthrough will be doubled, especially if he owns Danhai, it is even more difficult. Harder. Fortunately, there is real fire to make jade liquid, otherwise only by absorbing the heaven and earth aura. God knows which day can break through again. Thinking of it this way, he jumped on the ground with a beat, stretching his somewhat stiff body. Just as he stretched, something in his storage bag trembled. Opening the storage bag, Yi Chen found out that the slightly trembling was the purple gold gourd that was bought in Wanbao Pavilion that day. Since buying it back, it has never been quiet. Feeling surprised, Yi Chen took out the purple gold gourd, and the little gourd changed. The purple light on it appeared to be faint, and the runes engraved on it sometimes moved. Is it because I broke through the realm and triggered its awakening? Yi Chen murmured, and then gently pulled the stopper. Suddenly, Zijin gourd trembled again. Soon, a small vortex emerged from the gourd mouth of the Zijin small gourd. The aura between heaven and earth was pulled by this small vortex, and then sucked into the gourd through the small vortex. This made Yi Chen's eyes light up. Without the stopper, Yi Chen watched the change of the small gourd quietly. This small gourd is like a human body, absorbing the aura of heaven and earth. Seeing this, Yi Chen broke through the opening and came outside. Compared with the cave, the aura outside is more intense. He placed the purple gold gourd on the rock, and the heaven and earth aura was instantly attracted by it, and then pulled into the gourd. I don't know how long before, Yi Chen stepped forward and looked inside through the mouth of the gourd. He was surprised to find that the heaven and earth Reiki that had been sucked in turned into a few drops of Reiki liquid, although the amount was not much, but it was abnormally pure. You still have this ability. Yi Chen stumbled, then poured his Reiki liquid from the small gourd into his mouth. Reiki fluids, such as a Wang Qingchuan, flow into the major meridians in Yi Chen's body, nourishing his body. Nothing worse than Yu Lingye. Yi Chen's face showed joy. Immediately, Yi Chen put the money gourd back on the rock again, and continued to absorb the aura between heaven and earth. Not only that, he also poured a few bottles of Yuling liquid into it, and found that Yuling liquid and that aura liquid merged together, and became more pure, which made Yi Chen's eyes emit fiery light again. Seeing this, Yi Chen poured the Yuling liquid in the storage bag into a small gourd. It's really good. Yi Chen stroked the small gourd lightly, secretly saying that the 100 and 300 deity stone flowers were not wronged. In the future, just take this purple gold gourd out and place it in a place full of Reiki. It will swallow up the Reiki by itself, and then transform into Reiki liquid. Although the speed of this little gourd to transform the heaven and earth aura is a bit slow, it must be continuously absorbed. Over time, it must accumulate less. The most important thing is that it does not need to spend Yi Chen's time. Baby, it's a baby. He smiled. Yi Chen accepted the Zijin gourd, and then walked out of Haoshan. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 36, Shangling Mountain. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. It was late at night to return to the little spirit garden. But when Yi Chen walked in, he found that the tiger baby in the garden was not asleep, and he was sitting on a futon to absorb the heaven and earth aura. After a closer inspection, he found that Hu Wa's cultivation has been consolidated in Ning Qi's first priority. What a diligent little guy. Yi Chen smiled slightly. Upon hearing the voice, Hu Wa opened her eyes and saw Yi Chen, and got up in a hurry. Brother, you are back. How does it feel? Yi Chen patted Hu Wa's shoulder. It feels great. Hee. Hua showed 2 rows of white teeth. He was thick and he didn't know how to hide it. What he showed was the truest emotion in his heart. I feel full of energy and my meal volume has changed a lot older. Quote. It will be stronger in the future. Yi Chen showed a smile of relief, and then took 3 bottles of spiritual fluid out of the storage bag and handed it to Hua. Take 3 drops every other hour. 3 drops are the limit, 10 million. Don't drink too much. Quote. Thank you, elder brother. Hua was so excited that he still remembered to wipe the bottle with his sleeve. I'll ask for it when I run out. Huh. Hua nodded, then raised his small head, and fluttered his eyes looked at Yi Chen. Brother, can I go to Lingshan to practice like you do? Yi Chen fell into silence. As a disciple of the martial arts, he is well aware of the sinister nature of the martial arts. Weak strength will be bullied, strong strength will cause jealousy, conspiracy and trickery are even more invincible. Hua is an honest child. Where can he know how to cheat me? He really doesn't want this child to come into contact with them prematurely. I just want to see the world above. Seeing Yi Chen silent, Hua lowered her head. Looking at Hua, although Yi Chen sighed, she smiled on the surface, touching Hua's small head, and laughed. Be prepared, I will take you up the mountain tomorrow. Really? Tiger baby raised her head again. Go on. The tiger baby was very excited and ran into her own small room. Hey, after the tiger baby left, Yi Chen could not help but sigh. I don't know if it is right or wrong to help you become a monk. At last, he took a look at Hua's small room, and Yi Chen recovered his wounds for the little eagle spirit beast, and took advantage of the night to walk into Zhang Fengnian's room, and punched a bottle of Yuling liquid into him to help him nourish your body. After doing this, Yi Chen returned to his room and placed the purple gold gourd on the bedside to swallow up the aura on his own. Then he closed his eyes and worked the wild body to train the flesh. The next day, before dawn, he stepped out of the room. In the small garden, the tiger baby was already up and changed into a clean dress. Practice to go up to date, don't cause any trouble, remember to come back early. Zhang Fengnian was crutching over and over again and again, for fear that Hua was bullied on it. Yi Chen walked slowly and laughed, "Seniors, rest assured, I will take care of him." After a few hastily breakfasts, Yi Chen and Hua walked out of the Xiaoling garden under the watch of Zhang Fengnian. For the first time on the Hengyu Zongling mountain, the big eyes of the tiger baby kept looking around. The towering mountains, the magnificent palaces, the lingering spirit trees, everything was new in his eyes. At Hengyu Zongling mountain today, there seemed to be a lot of people going out to absorb the aura. Shu was the end of the scuffle between the three main peak disciples in Fengyuntai. No excitement made them return to cultivation, or it might be the coming outside competition after a month, which made them feel the pressure, so they intensified their cultivation. However, the arrival of Yi Chen has attracted the attention of many people. This apprentice disciple has done a lot of shocking events since Heng Yizong. Feng Yun fought against Zhao Long, blatantly opposed Di Yangfeng, threw Wei Yong to a semi-disabled, and punished the commandment church. Why did he bring the tiger baby up so blindly, ignoring the door rules? You're blind. The boy named Hua has anger in his body. Can practice. What an anecdote. For the discussion around him, Yi Chen ignored it and took Hua's hand slowly. Hua, however, faced with the surrounding words and pointing, timidly followed Yi Chen, and did not dare to do anything extra. Don't be afraid. Yi Chen smiled slightly. I'm not afraid. After taking a few turns, Yi Chen took the tiger baby to Juqing Pavilion to get an identification card for the tiger baby. In the lobby is still the long lawless Elder Xing Yi. When Yi Chen walked in, Elder Xing Yi couldn't help but smile. "Little guy, it really is my eyesight." Elder Xing Yi still remembers the scene where Yi Chen came here for the first time that day. The first of the three main peaks happened to be there, but he refused to accept him because of his low talent. It was just the next big thing that really surprised him. An intern disciple who was abandoned by the three main peaks had such amazing talent that people regretted it. Senior laughed. Yi Chen smiled. As he said, he brought Hua to his front and smiled. "Senior, his name is Hua, and he's here to get an identity card." Oh, after hearing this, Elder Xing Yi focused his eyes on the tiger baby. He was holding Hua's little arm and shoulder while looking up and down. He had read it wrong once, and didn't want to read it wrong a second time. However, this time he took a closer look, but the talent and qualifications of the tiger baby were indeed mediocre. Compared with Yi Chen, it was too far away. "Little baby, you can only be an intern disciple." At last, Elder Xing Yi looked at Hua and asked, "Will you?" Hua nodded quickly. "Grandpa, as long as I can cultivate on the mountain, I can do anything." Elder Xing Yi smiled and went in. Soon, he came out with a storage bag. Yi Chen took the storage bag for Hua, and then gave a gift to Elder Qingyan, Senior, disturbed. Talking, Yi Chen wanted to turn around and leave, but was stopped by Elder Xing Yi. "Little guy, if the internship period expires, you may be my disciple in Xing Yi." Elder Xing Yi threw an olive branch. Heng Yizong has always had such rules. Either the three main peaks or the elders of the main cabinets can accept apprentices. The Elder Qingyan said that he wanted to bring Yi Chen into the door of his Juqing Pavilion. "Thanks to the elders for their appreciation. I will consider the expiration of the internship." Yi Chen smiled slightly, saying very gently, without agreeing or rejecting, "I wait for your answer." Yi Chen nodded gently, and led Hua out of Juqing Pavilion. On his way, he met an acquaintance, more precisely an enemy. The man's white robe fluttered, Yushu was facing the wind, and the mouth was always filled with disgusting drama and fun. Take a closer look, isn't it that Qi Hao, a disciple of Yang Feng who attacked Yi Chen from Haoshan that day? Yo, seeing Yi Chen, Qi Hao smiled, "This world is really small. I can see your waste everywhere." As soon as Yi Chen's eyes were cold, he would go up to Qiantai with Qi Hao in a considerable field, but under careful consideration, he temporarily gave up the idea, because Hua followed him, and he didn't want the child to see two blood scene. Why, the fire whip didn't kill you. Chi Hao smiled disdainfully. He was not alone, and beside him was a young man named Chi Yun. He was about the same age as the tiger baby, but he was also proud of himself. He glanced at the tiger baby and was dismissive, "It's weak." Seen by the Qian boy, Hu Hua lowered her head inferiorly. No matter his life experience, cultivation status, temperament and qualifications, he was too far away from Shi Yun. Yi Chen pulled away the tiger baby, but a cold word came back. "Chi Hao, Fengyan Tower tomorrow, I'll wait for you." Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 37, Ebony. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. Out of the Juqing Pavilion, Yi Chen pulled the tiger baby towards the Lingqi Pavilion, and first chose a magic weapon for the tiger baby. "Brother, I'm ashamed of you." As she was walking, Hu Hua suddenly said with a bowed head. Hearing words, Yi Chen froze. But soon, he thought of the reason. The tiger baby was sincere and honest, as if he was still thinking about the things just now. He was also leading a young man of similar age, but Chi Yun, who was carried by Chi Hao, was better than the tiger baby. He had long heard of Chi Hao's origins, but he was a cultivating son and was sent to Heng Yizong from an early age. And the young man named Chi Yun, who was obviously a member of the Qi family, was also sent to Heng Yizong to practice. Dachu has no shortage of cultivation families, like the Shangguan family in Dongyu, the Situ family in Qishu, the Qi family in southern Xinjiang, and the royal family in Baiquan, and Chi Hao and the boy Qian are children of the Qi family in southern Xinjiang. Although the cultivation family is not deeper than the pedigree, it is not that simple. The disciples of the family have been soaked in elixir since childhood. They are provided by elixir all the way. This alone is not just a tiger baby, even Yi Chen, he can't match it. You have just become a monk, is there still a long way to go? Yi Chen patted Hu's shoulder and smiled comfortably. Don't I come up? When it comes, it will be safe. The world is inherently strong and weak, but God is fair. It's not as good as people for a while, doesn't mean it's not as good as people. When I first arrived, didn't I be looked down upon? Well, I will redouble my efforts and never shame my elder brother. Talking, the two came to the Lingqi Pavilion. As soon as he walked in, the elder Chow Tai Fuk, who was asleep at the lingering pavilion, opened his eyes. Go in, only one is allowed. Chow Tai Fuk waved at will. Come on. Yi Chen pushed Hua gently forward. Choose the one that is in my hand first, and I will find you a good one in the future. Yi Chen's arrival seemed to make Chow Tai Fuk unconsciously dormant again. He sat up and stretched his arms, then yawned. Seeing Chow Tai Fuk waking up and the tiger baby had not yet come out, Yi Chen took a step forward and asked with a smile, Elder, you can have black iron and black steel here. Black iron and black steel are precious materials for smelters. They have always been valuable and unavailable. The reason why Yi Chen asked Zontai and Zon Steel was very clear. He wanted to refine the essence of Zontai and Zon Steel into his Qishao sword. Zontai was hard and Zon Steel was flexible. The two complemented each other absolutely. Great choice. At least, that's what the mixer said. Zontai and Zon Steel are very precious. I have them all, I'm afraid you can't afford them. Zhou Dafu rubbed his eyes. Yi Chen's eyes lighted and he hurriedly asked, Elder, how much is it? Chow Tai Fuk didn't speak, but just held out a finger. 10,000. 10,000. What do you want? 100,000. Grunt. On the spot, Yi Chen swallowed hard. 100,000 is cheap, and the huge treasures of Wanbao Pavilion are more expensive. Zhou Dafu glanced at Yi Chen with a wonderful expression and continued, moreover, 100,000 spirit stones is only enough to buy a piece of mysterious eggs. Iron or black steel, quote. After hearing that, Yi Chen could not help but swallow again. He knew the value of black iron and black steel, but still underestimated their value. 100,000 spirit stones. What is this concept? Even a disciple outside the gate can't get so much in a lifetime. Even if he can make jade spirit fluid, it will take a long time to make up 100,000 spirit stones. Of course, there is a place that will be cheap. Chow Tai Fuk continued. Where? Ghost Black Market. On hearing that, Yi Chen couldn't help but touch his chin. Secretly, I forgot that place. The Nether Black Market is located at the junction of the three cases of Hengyu Zong, Zhengyang Zong, and Qingyun Zong. It is a place for trading, and it is also a good place to sell stolen goods. Because of this, there is not much peace there, and there are many big evils appear and are notorious since ancient times. Although Yi Chen has never been to that Nether Black Market, he has long heard of its fierce name. Of course, the Nether Black Market is not just known for its fierce reputation. Although it is chaotic there are many treasures in the business, and the price is lower than the market, and many monks will go there to buy treasure. How much cheaper are the black iron and black iron in the Nether Black Market than you are here? Thinking to himself, Yi Chen looked at Zhou Dafu. The black iron and black steel in that place are not of the correct origin, and most of the cargo owners will be eager to sell the stolen goods. If you calculate it, it will be about 40,000 to 50,000 cheaper. 4 to 5,000. Yi Chen touched his chin again. For him, 4 or 5,000 spirit stones are not small numbers. If he really buys black steel and black iron in the Nether Black Market, he doesn't mind going there. The Nether Black Market is not good, you can lose your life at any time, you can think about it. Zhou Dafu glanced at Yi Chen. There is no way, who made you sell so expensive here? It's only 40 to 50,000, I always have it. Chow Tai Fook gave a cough. My black iron and black steel are not white picks, it took a lot of effort, so let me earn some money. Hearing that, Yi Chen couldn't help but slap his lips, secretly saying that this week's Dafu, like the huge sea, belonged to the kind of old and sly. The two were talking, and Hua had already come out with her chosen weapon. He chose not a spirit sword, but an iron rod. Although the length was not commensurate with his height, it was still barely usable. Black iron rod. Chow Tai Fook saw it, looked at Hua, and said, "Little guy, so many artifacts, how did you choose it?" "Tiger baby, you can change another one," Yi Chen said with a smile. Among the many weapons, the most difficult to practice is the gun, and this black iron rod has only one less gun tip than the long gun. The difficulty of practice is conceivable. This is why Yi Chen and Zhou Dafu did not recommend that the tiger baby choose the black iron rod. "No need, I like this black iron rod very much." Hua grinned. Then knowing that the nature of the tiger baby is that once it is determined, it will not change, and Yi Chen is not good at saying anything more. The sword has the sharpness of the sword, the mystery of the stick has the stick, choose it and choose it. Zhou Dafu no longer objected. "Elder, do you have any stick magic?" Yi Chen looked at Zhou Dafu. Tiger baby has just entered the monk ranks, and many do not understand it. He even chose a black iron stick as a weapon, even if he knows nothing about the stick method, let alone tiger baby. "The stick is French, I don't have it." Chow Tai Fook shook his head. "You can go to Wanbao Pavilion to see where Zhou Lauer may have it." Hearing that, Yi Chen was a little disappointed. "That's it, we're going to leave." Yi Chen bowed his hand and led Hua out of the lingering pavilion. During that time, they went to Wanbao Pavilion again, but they were disappointed. Yi Chen placed the tiger baby at the top of the hill where he cultivated, and he took care of each other, and sometimes gave some pointers to the tiger baby. "Tiger baby, you can make up for it, you have to work hard." "Well, I will double my cultivation and not embarrass my big brother." Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 38, Gambling. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. There was nothing to say all night, and then dawn. The next day, just after dawn, there was a shocking news spreading through the outer door of Heng Yizong. "Have you heard? Yi Chen is going to challenge Qi Yong from Renfeng. Real or fake? Qi Hao is a real two-person realm. Yi Chen is full." Once the news came out, it caused an uproar. The disciples of the three main peaks died in the melee of Fengyuntai. Fengyuntai, which had just calmed down for a long time, once again became the place of Fengyunji. The important thing was that Yi Chen, who had been in trouble. As a result, some of the disciples who have been in pain have already ran to Fengyuntai to occupy the place in advance. "I despise Yanggren, and punish me." Ren Yongfeng's first Qingyong real high-rise shite was full of Zihao's confidence. Be obedient to the mission. Chi Hao threw away his robes, his personable look was full, and the corners of his mouth were full of playful smiles. Let's go too. Su Xinyue and a group of disciples followed immediately. On the other side, under Feng Yuntai, when he came to see the lively disciples of Hengyu, he had tacitly given up away, and Yi Chen, who was carrying a heavy sword, slowly walked in. Before losing the 2 disciples in a row, I don't know if I can defeat Chi Hao this time. Wei Yong and Zhao Long can compare with Chi Hao. The condensed atmosphere and the human realm are not hierarchical at all. With the sound of discussion around him, Yi Chen was about to go to the battlefield, but was dragged by a figure rushing out of the oblique side. Looking subconsciously, the corner of Yi Chen's mouth could not help pulling. The man who dragged him was Shang whose form was extraordinarily embarrassed. He was already full of fat face, while he was swollen and tall, and his nose was swollen. Seeing the posture of the goods going back, he was stunned. Boy, tell the truth to you, you have a chance of winning. Shang stared at 2 small eyes and looked at Yi Chen. 10%. Well, Shang really came and went fast, making Yi Chen somewhat inexplicable. Retracting his eyes, Yi Chen lifted his feet and embarked on the battlefield. Come here, bet more, win more. After this village, there is no such shop. Yi Chen just stepped onto the stage, and such a voice sounded. Looking closely, it is Shang I didn't know where to move a table from. There were 2 brands hanging on the table, one with Yi Chen's name on it, and the other with Chi Hao's name on it. Outside gambling, Yi Chen saw at a glance what Shang wanted to do. On weekdays, the upwind Yuntai people will hang something to bet on. As for the audience, those disciples who do and think about spirituality will not be idle. They will come to bet with spirit stones. This is outside gambling. Good luck. Maybe you can get rich overnight. Come here, bet Yi Chen loses 10, bet Chi Hao loses 10, bet less wins less, bet more wins more. Really don't say. Being discouraged by Shang the disciples all around swarmed over. Betting Chi Hao. I bet Chi Hao. Chi Hao wins. It is easy to imagine that the bet is optimistic about Chi Hao, so that on the side where Chi Hao wins, the stack of spiritual stones is high, and on the side where Yi Chen wins, it is empty. I'm so bad. Yi Chen glanced down from the stage, and couldn't help it a little. However, the corner of his mouth evoked a smile. Buy and leave, no refund. Shang cries rang through Feng Yuntai. This is really business-minded. While he was busy at the gambling table, he did not forget to blink at Yi Chen on the stage. I have money to make it. Yi Chen seemed to see a pile of shining spirits. Zhengzhou was short of money for Zon steel and Zon iron, and Shang was destined to make a fortune. Soon, the spirit stones piled up on the gambling table were even higher than people. At a glance, there were as many as 50,000 to 60,000. The bet disciples have also returned to their seats, each of them flexing his muscles, and his mother is waiting to collect the money. Chi Hao is here, soon, the sharp-eyed disciple shouted. The disciples in the audience looked in one direction. Chi Hao, dressed in white and holding a white fan, was walking slowly, and behind him a large group of disciples, Yang Feng, all looked to cheer. With all the attention, Chi Hao's mouth was soaked with playfulness, and he landed on the battlefield. Wow, so handsome. Suddenly, the quartet was full of exclamations from female disciples. Chi Hao seemed to enjoy the feeling, shaking the folding fan lightly, with a gentle gesture. Brother Chi, flatten him. Ren Yangfeng's disciples have raised morale to cheer for Chi Hao before the war begins. The killing thoughts are too heavy, and you won't be able to achieve a positive result. Su Xinyue glanced at Yi Chen dismissively under the shadow of the crowd. On the stage, Chi Hao looked at the opposite Yi Chen with amusement and said, Yi Chen, who gave you the courage to challenge you? Do you feel too good about yourself? Yi Chen sneered. Who is Chi Hao? Would you like to bet? If not, I'll seal it. Below, a voice from Shang came. Bet, of course. He closed the folding fan lightly, and Chi Hao dropped a storage bag at will. Bet me to win, 10,000 spirit stones. Wow. As soon as the words came out, there was an instant noise below. Especially those women are constantly screaming, and secretly saying that Chi Hao is not only a good family, high cultivation, handsome. Even this shot is also a bold force, completely in line with the image of Prince Charming in their hearts. I don't have the money, Brother Chi. I'll bet 100. Yi Chen also shot, throwing the 100 spirit stone on the side of the gambling table to represent his win. His 100 spirit stone was the only 100 spirit stone. Finalize. As Shang sighed, he hit the table with a hammer. There is a foreign gamble below. Aren't you ready to gamble between me and me? Chi Hao smiled at Yi Chen. He couldn't lift his chin too high. If it was higher, the goods might be able to soar into the sky. I don't have money. I won't bet on you. Are you afraid? I'm not afraid. Yi Chen drew her ears. I'll beat you in a while. The valuable things on your body are mine. Good breath. Chi Hao's eyes lightened coldly, and he set off immediately, with his toes on the ground. Several flashes and killed Yi Chen. His body was inscrutable, and behind him was a shadow. So fast. This body is really mysterious. Even the opponent Yi Chen couldn't help wondering. During the talk, Chi Hao had been bullying himself. Raising his hand was a palm print. Seeing this, Yi Chen immediately moved the nature. LB. Yi Chen was shaken back with a single palm. He didn't do his best. He wouldn't do his best. He showed weakness, just to test Chi Hao's strength. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 39. Reverse Black and White. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com. Update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. It's vulnerable. Chi Hao succeeded. Chi Hao sneered. His figure was more free and easy, stepped down, and bullied himself in front of Yi Chen again. There was real air flowing in the palm, and it became a 5-star palm print. Yi Chen immediately moved the Tianjian épée. Seeing this, Chi Hao leaned sideways to avoid the giant cockroach, and the 5-star palm print immediately patted Yi Chen's chest. Are you despising my actual combat ability? Yi Chen sneered, and when the 5-star palm print was about to hit him, he quickly retreated. It's too slow. Chi Hao rushed forward to the extreme speed. Slow. Then hurry up. Yi Chen smiled, and when he quickly retreated, he threw Tiana to Chi Hao, and at the same time, he stepped on the ground with his feet, and his receding body suddenly became forward. LB. Chi Hao flew into the oncoming Tiana with one palm, but after the Tiana, Yi Chen attacked immediately. Ben Lei Palm. With the sound of thunder, Yi Chen ran into a palm of thunder. Chi Hao's body stagnation was also hit with a single palm. Boom. Two horrifying palms suddenly collided in the air, making a booming sound. Chi Hao seemed to have insufficient power, so that he was repaired by the realm of the people, and he was taken aback by Yi Chen. Fighting hard, Chi Hao fell into the wind. You know how to fart, because Chi Hao had to fly at full speed in the future because he hit the flying giant, so he didn't have enough energy, so he lost half a move. But even so, Yi Chen is not easy. I really underestimated you. Chi Hao took a step back and smiled, but was not angry at losing half a move, because the warm-up had just begun. Just look at me, you will lose badly. I don't know if I can take this trick. Chi Hao's eyes were cold, and he immediately touched the handprints. The situation instantly changed above his head, and the brilliant sword spirits turned out. The volley sword rain. With Chi Hao's frivolity, he waved his hand, and the sky's sword gas fell like rain, really gorgeous. Seeing this, Yi Chen had already moved, pulled out the giant cormorant inserted on the battle platform, and then poured into it. The heavy sword was thick and huge, lifted up by Yi Chen, pointed directly at the sky, and then stirred madly, and centered on him, formed a huge vortex of true qi. The vortex shattered strongly. Ling Tian Jianyu was broken, but instead of being angry, Chi Hao sneered at the corner of his mouth. Seeing this, Yi Chen's heart was a little stunned, feeling a cold air as quickly killing from the ground. Earth Dragon. Chi Hao folded his hands, utterly reprimanded. Roar. Suddenly, a deep dragon chant sounded from Yi Chen's feet. The next moment, an imaginary dragon spirit broke through the ground and roared towards Yi Chen. Good mysterious mystery. Ling Tianjianyu in front, and Earth Dragon in the back, surprised the audience. Whether you're a dragon or a worm, let me lie down. On the stage, Yi Chen's cold drink came. His fists were clenched, the blood in his body was flowing rapidly, His madness was madly flowing between his fingers, and then a fist hit the imaginary dragon spirit firmly. On. With such a powerful punch, the dragon's breath was blown away on the spot, which surprised the spectator below. Yi Chen still has such strength. It really looked down on him. Good boy, I don't even know that you still have such a domineering combat power. Shang the audience, saw Yi Chen punch the smashing dragon's breath, and could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Qi Long's anger was blown away, making Qi Hao's look cold for a moment, and immediately moved his handprint again. Do you think Lao Su will give you a chance? The icy voice went from near to far, and it was very rapid. Yi Chen came like a lion, and in the air, he hit the thunder palm, interrupting Qi Hao's not moving seal. Yin Ju was interrupted, Qi Hao was gloomy, and immediately retreated. Yi Chen chased after him and abandoned him. He was no longer restrained by weight. His body was light and elegant, and there was a flicker of light behind him. Fast speed. Not only the audience, but even Qi Hao couldn't help but be surprised. Ben Lei Palm. Yi Chen smashed a piece of bluestone on the battle platform, and then shot strongly. With this palm, he used 60% of his strength. Opposite, Qi Hao's eyes narrowed, because he felt a powerful and overbearing power from the palm of his bombardment. This palm was obviously not a rank from the previous one. He hides his strength. Qi Hao flashed a cold light in his eyes. Between the electric light and flint, Qi Haosheng stopped his body shape, stepped forward violently, and pushed it out with his palm. Boom! It was another regret, but Qi Hao snorted and backed away. How could there be such a strong power? Qi Hao's expression suddenly gloomed. However, he had just stopped his figure and hadn't moved yet. The oncoming Yi Chen leapt like a lion again, and his shot was a powerful and overbearing Ben Lei palm. Shuangguang shield armor. Suddenly, Qi Hao bit his tongue and spit out a sperm of blood, which turned into a ****** shield in front of him. Boom! Yi Chen's palm banged on the shield, making a bang. Break it for me! With a roar, Yi Chen fluttered, waving his arm strongly, and punched the shield. Click! The crisp voice sounded, and the shield armor that Qi Hao condensed cracked on the spot, and even he was stunned back again. What a freak this kid is! Qi Hao stepped back, his face stunned for the first time. It's not over. Yi Chen, who was facing him, obviously didn't intend to give Qi Hao a chance to breathe. He stepped across and stepped in front of Qi Hao. Broken shield. Qi Hao was about to seal, but was interrupted by Yi Chen on the spot. Be close to me, ask for blessings. With Yi Chen's cold cry, all kinds of fighting uprisings of the beast's heart anger showed instantly. He is like a beast going down the mountain, and the way out of the gloves is even weird, sometimes like a tiger, sometimes a fierce ape, sometimes a lion, sometimes like a wolf, grabbing, patting, tearing, hands, feet, knees, shoulders, each one the joints are all fierce weapons. Again. This is how it plays again. There was a surprise underneath. Everyone who has seen Yi Chen and Zhao Long knows that Yi Chen has a weird style of play. The moves are not gorgeous, but they are crisp, powerful and domineering. Think back to the day of Zhao Long, wasn't he just pressed and raised his head? Isn't that the most basic form of fighting? How did it become so weird in Yi Chen's hands? How do I feel like Yi Chen is not a human, but a fierce beast? Strange, too weird. Boy, you're awesome. Shang at the gambling table looked dazzled, and had snorted more than once. What? On the battlefield, Qi Hao roared. Although he is much stronger than Zhao Long and also has many secret skills, but every time he casts, he will be interrupted by Yi Chen. At this moment, there was no such kind of playfulness on his face. Not long ago, he could not hold himself in the high posture of his brother, like a dog of the bereaved family, and could not be lifted by Yi Chen. This, Ren Yangfeng's disciple came to help, and now he's dumbfounded. Who is Qi Hao? But their always awesome brothers never thought that at this moment they would be defeated by a condensed atmosphere. I was the first time I saw Brother Qi Hao so embarrassed. Brother Qi is a realm. Yi Chen is clearly just condensed. Why is there such a domineering combat power? He clearly uses demon art. Su Xinyue, who has always been silent, has a cold and scary voice, especially when she sees Yi Chen attacking Qi Hao. She hates gritting teeth. Black art, yes, it is black art. As soon as this remark was made, Ren Yangfeng's disciples echoed. Yi Chen, you use shamanism, it's really shameful. After the first Yangfeng disciple screamed angrily, Ren Yangfeng's disciples followed his voice and scolded loudly. As a result, a chain reaction quickly formed under the stage. Those disciples who had made good contact with Qi Hao responded one after another, and the indignant, scolding, and angry drinking in their mouths even became a tide. Come off, you are not worthy of confronting brother Qi Hao. Among the crowd, I do not know who it was, smashing an egg at Yi Chen on the stage. Later, many disciples followed suit. All of the eggs and rotten vegetables were thrown onto the battlefield. They vowed to let Yi Chen roll off the battlefield, so that Yi Chen, who was fighting, had to stop. I Heng Yuzong is a decent person and cannot tolerate this demon. He should be sent to the discipline hall for severe punishment. Using hex, such acts are really despicable. Banished Disciples Counterattack Chapter 40, Jedi Counterattack. Baikyuj www.mtlnovel.com, update the latest chapter of Shanwu Emperor as soon as possible. The audience was filled with indignation, and the people who criticized Yi Chen were one after another. Because of the turmoil on the stage, the battle on the stage was temporarily extinguished, and Qi Hao, who was beaten up, had a chance to breathe. Dark art is shameful and shameless. Ren Yangfeng's disciples were still holding on to this, and the more they scolded the more they were unscrupulous. Hearing that, Yi Chen's eyes were cold, and he glanced at the disciple of Yang Feng, and said coldly, "Try another curse." "Why, don't people use magic to say it?" Ren Yangfeng scolded a disciple in white. "Can you stop me alone? Can you stop everyone's mouth? Don't bother to revise the system, but to practice crooked ways." With one punch and four hands, facing the upside-down black and white frame, although angry, it couldn't stop the tide of abuse. Fearful, Yi Chen really appreciates this. Just as Yi Chen's attention was attracted, Qi Hao on the opposite side suddenly launched an attack, and a half-moon-shaped sword mang split. Puff! The blood splattered, Yi Chen was wounded instantly, and a sensuous blood was cut out from his chest. "Come on," growled. Qi Hao smirked, rushing like a mad dog, and there was a ray of light lingering above his index finger, pointed out by him. Puff! Yi Chen poked out a blood hole on the right shoulder. A sneak attack again. Yi Chen, who stepped back, suddenly became extremely cold. That day in Hengyuzong Haoshan, he was suddenly attacked by Qi Hao and was injured. The scene today looks like that day. Because of the surprise attack and successive wounds, Yi Chen's form was very embarrassed. Qi Hao was crazy, and did not give Yi Chen a chance to breathe. Palm prints, boxing shadows, and sword-ons came overwhelmingly. Damn, don't be shameful. Shang who couldn't stand it anymore, jumped at the table and yelled on the spot. But at this moment, who will ignore him? Bad him. Seeing Qi Hao's counterattack, Ren Yangfeng's disciples shouted loudly. How did Brother Qi lose? Su Xinyue was relieved when seeing Yi Chen's failure. I trust. Is there any good reason? Shang he jumped onto the table directly, yelling with a grin. You know, he's a bookmaker. There are as many as 70,000 to 80,000 spirit stones bet Qi Hao wins, and only 100 spirit stones bet on Yi Chen to win. This means that if Yi Chen loses, it means he will lose 80,000 spirit stones are given to the bettor. Naturally, it's not all because of the spiritual stone. Although he knew Yi Chen shortly, he could see Yi Chen's nature very well. He is definitely a person worthy of deep friendship. He really regarded Yi Chen as a friend. When he saw Yi Chen, he was framed first and then attacked. Anger in my heart. Puff, puff. On the battle platform, blood splattered constantly. Since the attack by Qi Hao was successful, Yi Chen was hit by the crazy Qi Hao on the edge of the stage without any response time. Go to death. With a roar, Qi Hao pierced the air with a sword. Puff. Another splash of blood. However, this time Yi Chen did not dodge, but was forced to pierce her shoulders, and she did not fall off the platform. Today, new hatred and old hatred count together. Yi Chen's voice was so cold that he held Qi Hao's sword in his left hand, and his right hand had been imbued with the true spirit of Qi Hao, and he punched firmly on Qi Hao's face. In one blow, Qi Hao was beaten by Yi Chen. Without waiting for Chi Hao to stabilize his body, Yi Chen backed up with one stroke. War! Shouting, Yi Chen ignored the flowing blood and rushed to Yi Chen like a lion. He was really provoked. Facing a group of innocent and insidious people, he no longer kept his hands and killed Chi Hao. The mystery of the beast's anger was cast out in Jedi Counterattack. Roar! Roar! Every time Yi Chen shot, there was a roar of the beast, and he burst out in anger. What? Chi Hao roared and shed his hair, allowing him to perform many secret techniques, but after being approached by Yi Chen, he was crushed and beaten again, and his strength was exhausted everywhere, and many secret methods were too late. Black magic, he is casting black magic again. Seeing Chi Hao being beaten again, Ren Yangfeng's disciples started to coax again. Soon, the disciples who watched the battle also agreed, and this time the momentum was even greater. Not all of them are good disciples with Chi Hao, they are the spirit stones that distress them. You know, there are still bets under Feng Yuntai. Everyone at the scene, except Shang and Yi Chen, all bet Chi Hao to win. If Chi Hao loses, their spirits will be gone. It's so mean to use black art. Come off the stage, you are not worthy of confronting Brother Chi. Pull to the commandment hall. The swearing, scolding, and anger drinking again formed the tide, and the big hat of black art was once again clasped on Yi Chen's head. I wanted to use this method to stop the battle on the stage again, so as to get Chi Hao's breathing time. However, after being counted once, how could Yi Chen make the same mistake again? He didn't stop attacking. Like a fierce beast, he shot fiercely and domineeringly, seeing his blood fist, making Chi Hao unable to turn over. What? Chi Hao's face was a little distorted, but to no avail. Boy, that's good. Shang stood at the gambling table, somehow drew a white cloth, and waved furiously. Master, sister, what can I do? Under the audience, Ren Yangfeng's disciples looked at Su Xinyue. Su Xinyue was also a little flustered. How could she think that Yi Chen would have such combat power, and even after being wounded or even forced to the edge of the battle platform, she could fight back Jedi? Everything was beyond her expectations. Boom! On the stage, Chi Hao was blown out by Yi Chen with a punch. With another bang, Chi Hao's falling body cracked the battle platform apart. However, when he stood up, the corner of his mouth was a sloppy smile. Yi Chen, after all, you can't beat me. He heard that Yi Chen, who was about to kill again, frowned suddenly. He found that the vitality circulating in his body was restrained by a powerful force, and even Danhai was imprisoned. Qianling Mantra. Yi Chen glanced at his arm, only to find that a yellow amulet was sticking to his arm, which had slowly integrated into his body. Take a closer look, isn't it the Qianling Mantra? It's a Qianling curse. The disciples below were uproaring, how precious the Qianling curse was, and never thought Chi Hao had such a charm. Junqi was imprisoned, Yi Chen was doomed to turn over. No need to lose money this time. It turned out that Brother Chi had a long-term plan. Ren Yangfeng's disciple was relieved, and there was no suspense in the next battle. Chi Hao, you, his mother. Shameless. At the scene, only Shang shouted and yelled, fight against a condensate, you can use the Qianling curse, can you do something more? Quote. Just how Chi Hao listened at this time. He had been stunned by shame, and now there was only one thought in his mind, to defeat Yi Chen, no matter what the price was paid. Opposite, Yi Chen's face was like frost. He was also the first time to cast the Qianling curse, and he really felt the horror of the Qianling curse. With his strength at this time, he could never break it. I'm imprisoned, I can't beat him. Yi Chen's eyes were uncertain. Danhai was imprisoned, and he thought that the real fire was also blocked. Even if he was strong in physical strength and excellent in combat ability, there was absolutely no possibility of winning without authenticity. Ha ha ha. Opposite, a smile of unrestrained Chi Haojun came. I will make you worse than death. Chi Hao pulled out his fierce killing sword and came slowly. He was not in a hurry, and wanted to appreciate Yi Chen's helpless anger full. No one knows who is born or dead. Yi Chen sneered, and Yi Chen was ready to fight again.